Tuesday, and it's a new month altogether. Welcome to the AM News. My name is Pakwesi Shandov. Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has questioned the quality of work done by the Privileges Committee in arriving at the decision that Member of Parliament for Domi Kwabenya Sarah Adjoasafo's seat should be declared vacant. The Speaker mounted a strong defense of his decision to refer the committee's report on absentee MPs to the entire House for a vote. Speaking to journalists, the Speaker said that his ruling was apt and he was not satisfied with the work of the committee in its entirety.
If you've had access to read the report, you understand the basis of my ruling. You know, representation is so key to democratic governance, to be left to the subjective decision of any individual or group of people. It must be the whole. And that report, after reading that report, I went behind the report to do investigation as to what happened at the committee meetings. And I'm not satisfied with what happened there. There's no way that this can go without the whole House being given the opportunity to debate it. The heavens can come down, but that one, the whole House will have to debate it and come out with a decision. It's not the Speaker that has to declare the vacation of the seat. Okay? When they say something is automatic, it is somebody that must make it automatic. To start with, the attention must be drawn that the person has been absent for more than 15 sittings. I should say for 15 sittings. 15 or more sittings. There must be some search to know that the Speaker has not given a written permission. These are questions of facts. And that cannot be established just by an individual. The Speaker, every day, I give permissions. And there's no way that with this heavy load on me, I'll be able to say that, oh, I didn't give this one permission, or I gave this one 10, I gave this 20. No. We must get a team to do a research, to survey, get all the permissions and go through. Don't forget, they are human beings, and they can be subjected to influences. Even that, I'm still investigating it. And I got reports from civil society organizations that are focused on Parliament. And they've gone to the extent of using the votes and proceedings, which is the basis for attendance. Don't forget that the Constitution doesn't say attendance to plenary session. It says attendance to Parliament. And Parliament is not only about plenary. And that is where I have a problem with the decision of the Supreme Court.
The government says that it is putting in place measures to make rural areas attractive and livable. Government hopes this will check the rural-urban migration, which is making urban areas overpopulated. This was revealed at the 2022 Ghana Urban Forum at the Labadi Beach Hotel. There's more on the following report.
This year's forum is under the theme Rapid Urban Growth in Ghana, promoting effective urban planning for livable and sustainable cities and towns. The Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, Dan Kweku Botche, revealed Ghana's population is becoming increasingly urbanized.
With this onslaught of immigration to the urban areas, have we planned to receive people who are coming? You understand? You drive along the motorway and you turn on the right and you see what? So many kiosks. And at times, at times we joke with things in this country, we call it kiosk city in the Lashibi area. You understand? How do they dispose of waste? Those people who are living along that road. How? Because they came into a city, lived anywhere which is not very well planned. And therefore, you find themselves disposal of waste, open defecation, how they live not in an unplanned area. But yet, in each district assembly, you cannot put even a wooden structure anywhere without permission from the assembly.
He explained further that they will make rural areas livable with the provision of the necessary social amenities to curb rural-urban migration.
If you say that 56.7% of our people are now living in urban areas, and if you study the Ghana Statistical report after the census, you begin to see that how are the people living? How many of them are living in kiosks and what they call metal structures? How are we developing infrastructure to meet those who are living in the urban areas? And then, as I said in my speech, what is being done to also curb rural-urban migration? And one aspect is to make the rural areas livable.
The 2022 Ghana Urban Forum is a platform for stakeholders to discuss relevant urban development issues and promote good urban governance and development.
The National Service personnel are asking government for an upward adjustment of their allowances. They say the current allowance is insufficient, forcing many of them to live on borrowed funds.
In my opinion, the online procedure has been good so far, but then my only concern is come to sit here because I was allocated 11 o'clock. I came pretty later than that, but then when I came to meet people from 10:30 already here, and I'm yet to be attended to. So I think that's my concern now. I'm wondering how I'm going to get home and prepare for tomorrow. Since we are starting tomorrow, we have to go to work early and all that.
The process will be fast, but unfortunately, my expectation wasn't met. I've been around here 9, and now it seems that people, those 10 is around 11 or so. So I'm still in the queue. I don't know when it will be my time. So I think they should speed up because some of us, we stay far. And we see now the system is so hard, so traveling issue has also become, so we see this structure and other guys, so if the time is late, they want to even increase the price. So, bro, it's not easy, but all the same, we trust the process that maybe our time will come. And also concerning the allowance, we plead that maybe there should be an increment, because you see now things are really increasing, got taxation and other stuff, so if the allowance still remain the same, you see, so they should increase for us.
I mean, things are getting more pricey. Even just getting here, the transportation was quite a lot as compared to previously. So I think an increment would be good.
Now, the executive director of the National Service Scheme, Osei Asibe Entry, says government is working to cushion service personnel with a cost of living allowance. Kola.
Well, like Oliver Twist, Oliver always asks for more. So if you ask me, Oliver is always asking. And we are hopeful that the president will do something about them. Recently, maybe you have heard, because you are in the media space, that the president gave COLA to support the workers. And once the president has started, it also comes to their turn. And anywhere I go, my advice has been very short, that one, they should go there and be a good ambassadors. 2, they should go there, then be disciplined and abide by the principles of all the user agencies. Every user agency has gotten their code of ethics. And my advice to them is that they should be obedient. They should go there, prepare themselves, that it is through the user agency support that is going to sharpen them for them to become employable.
Now, family of a man who was hit by a stray bullet allegedly fired by the police during last month's demonstration by some residents of Wa wants the Interior Minister to independently investigate the issue. 14-year Ibrahim Hafiz was returning from the mosque when he was shot in the left shin and rushed to the Upper West Regional Hospital, where the leg was later amputated. Father of the victim, Ibrahim Salia Firibu, says that they feel neglected. Rafik Salam reports from Wa.
On September 16, 2022, 14-year-old primary 6 pupil Ibrahim Hafiz had closed from the mosque for Friday prayers when he bumped into a sea of RDU demonstrators protesting about the suspected ritual murders of 10 persons in the one municipality. The demonstration turned violent after the irate youth allegedly broke into some stores owned by some West African nationals, forcing the police to fire gunshots to ward them off from the area. Hafiz was caught in the melee, and in an attempt to cross the road to safety, he was hit by a stray bullet allegedly fired by the police stationed at the community junction. The Wakabanya Model Primary 6 pupil was rushed to the Upper Sudan Hospital for medical treatment.
The police were firing warning shots. When I got to the scene, I tried to cross to the other side. I was gunned down by a stray bullet. I became unconscious and later woke up at the hospital.
Medical director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, painted a mental picture of the condition that Hafiz was brought to the facility.
2 punctured wounds that communicated to each other. One on the anterior part, that's the front, smaller one. There was another one at the posterior part, which is the back, a bigger one. But during the surgical exploration, we realized that those 2 wounds were connected. I cannot for certain say it was a bullet, but I'm very sure that it was a missile wound because it's something that communicated. It means that it entered from one end, most probably the front, and exited at the other end.
Initially, they thought they could save the leg and mounted an external fixator, but the plan fell through.
Unfortunately, we were unable to, and the leg became gangrenous, literally meaning that it died off. So we had to subsequently amputate it below knee. He has since been in the ward, being cared for. The wound that he sustained after the amputation, and when the wound heals, he's properly rehabilitated so that he can acquire an artificial limb. Our clinical psychologist has been talking to him because if you have 2 limbs and you wake up one day and one is not there, that is something that is not easy for you to, accept. So the clinical psychologist has also been talking with him.
At bedside of Hafiz are his close family members, including his parents. They cannot pinpoint exactly as to who fired the gun, but they can say without any equivocation it was fired by the police.
We can say he was shot by the police because none of the demonstrators was armed. It was the police who came to chase them away that were armed, and they shot him.
Dakura Kobana, an uncle to Hafiz, is however advocating for an independent committee to investigate on the issue and the persons found culpable be made to face justice.
That's what I want to happen, is that it has been far too many in such instances of police using bullets rough. So I would like them to actually come in and they investigate it and let us adequately be compensated for this wrong, because there are too many of such things happening in the country.
The responsibility of footing the medical bills has been on the shoulders of the parents, a huge drain on their irregular source of income. His father, Ibrahim Saleh Ferbo, is a mason, and the mother, Afisa Ibrahim, is a petty trader at the Wadeli market. They have since paid over 5,000 Ghana cedis for the medical bills. It is the wish of Hafiz and his father that the former should be supported to acquire an artificial limb and continue with his education.
If they could help by giving scholarship package
to him to continue his education and also help acquire prosthetic legs and his movement. Ever since Hafiz was hospitalized, leading to the amputation of his leg, he has not gotten a single visit from the duty bearers in the region. They felt neglected and left to go through this ordeal alone. The parents of Ibrahim Hafiz are saying that they would like to know what actually transpired on that fateful day, and would like an investigation to be conducted by the Interior Ministry or the government so that they will know the truth or otherwise of the matter. It is only when the truth is told that they will be at peace with their God. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam.
The rising cost of flour and cooking oil is taking a heavy toll on traders in the bakery and fries business. Price of buff loaf, popularly known as buffroot, and fried yam are increasing at a major production hub in the Ashanti region. Traders at Anuya Nkwanta say they risk losing their businesses if prices are not increased to correspond with the hike in production ingredients. Nanaya Ojima visited the area and filed this report.
Buffroot is made of flour, sugar and other ingredients, which is fried in hot oil under high temperature. The tasty delicacy is often taken with a beverage in the morning, but some prefer taking it as snack in the afternoon. The business is the mainstay of the Anuya Nkwanta economy. Travelers make a stop at the busy junction to have a taste of the brown balls.
This business was in existence before we were born.
Prices of vegetable oil almost doubled in the past few days, currently selling at 1,000 cedis a gallon from a little below 600 cedis. With inflation hovering at 37.2% in September, food prices have soared. For about a week, the busy stop at Anuya Nkwanta has lost its main feature, buffroot hawking. Local stoves, which are production units at the time of our visit, were desolate. According to traders, the hike in price of cooking oil pushed them out of the business.
It's 1,000 and say a check here. What for to no crown? No money now, no 1,000. Says I want the Franco bed 1,000. Yes, I buy a gallon of oil is now sold at 1,000 Ghana cedis, but the ingredients for buffroot is less than 1,000 cedis. So we realized we had to put a halt to making buffroot.
For this reason, the traders have resolved to hike prices from 3 to 5 cedis, with the smallest balls going for 3 cedis. They are uncertain about survival of the business.
You have 5 cedis and 3 cedis. They are traveling. They say 8. What's it? 2 cedis and 3 cedis. From today, the 3 cedi buffroot will be sold at 5 Ghana cedis, while we sell the 2 cedi buffroot at 3 Ghana cedis.
Meanwhile, the yam frying business, which is an alternative for many here, is also in recession. The traders plan to increase the prices to 5 cedis for 3 pieces. Ajwa Ampoma is leader.
Bayira ne de course ro kese sa anwa no buru so ade 5 million akodu 10 million ye de ye ho onye ye pese e twa no miensa 5 cedi ye twa no mfiamfia miensa 5 cedi 1 cedi.
Unlike the price of oil, the yam prices are stable, so we have decided to sell 3 pieces of yam at 5 Ghana cedis.
It is unclear how the market will respond to the increment. There are concerns the Anuya Nkwanta buffroot may go into extinction if the cedi depreciation, which is said to be the cause of the price hikes, remain unchecked. For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima, Anuya Nkwanta.
After close to 6 months in hospital, the 9-year-old girl whose hand was bored by her stepmother at Guaso in the Hafo region has been discharged from the Konfanote Teaching Hospital. Stephanie's deteriorating hand was brought to the attention of health officials later amidst fears of amputation through a series of surgeries and treatment largely sponsored by management of Menton Gold Bibiani Limited and other donors. Her hand has been saved, but doctors say she would need a series of physiotherapy sessions to regain function of some of her fingers. Lab FM's Erastus Asaredonko has been following her treatment and now reports.
The wife of a Pentecost elder, Reverend Stephen Nketia, who brought the girl to stay with her, held her hands in boiling water for taking her 2 cedis. For 6 agonizing months, little Stephanie has gone through pain in an attempt to save her hand from amputation. Dr. Emil Tano is head of the plastic surgery team that attended to her.
When she came for the first time, the hand was almost cooked. We have to improve the function of the hand. And I think that we are able to achieve that, even though we didn't get 100%. Now she will be able to use the finger to grab something or to write. And then we'll continue now with the hand physiotherapy to improve the function further. Maybe in future we may need to, to do maybe some few corrective surgeries here and there, but now I think that what we have is quite satisfactory.
Stephanie is happy and grateful to be discharged, but worries about the state of her hand now.
It was quite an unfortunate incident.
Esther Nyakumpuatin, Principal Nursing Officer in charge of the D2C Benz unit, explains the result attained.
We've been able to get this far. It's not the best though, but it's one of the best results considering how the injury came. It came quite late, so we couldn't do a lot for her, but then we've done our best. We prayed that people would prevent burns in their homes so that these incidents will not come.
Individuals, including the husband of the accused and the Wadoma Foundation, donated to her upkeep.
God bless you. We pray for strength and ability for you.
But Menton Gold Bibiani Limited took over all her surgeries and medical expenses, including money for her upkeep. Emmanuel Edu is sustainability manager of the company.
At Menton, one of the core principles in our community engagement is to follow our corporate mothers Asante Care principle. We look at some of these things that are very heartbreaking, that you need intervention for the survival of the needy. And board and management or executives of Asante were happy to support Menton Gold to make sure that we provide the required support to making sure that Stephanie regains her health, regains her hand, and gets reintegrated into society, especially for her to go back to school. And so we are very excited. We will continue to engage all relevant stakeholders so that whatever she may need, we will look at what we are capable of doing, consider it, and probably come appropriately.
Police say they are ready to continue with prosecution of the woman at the center of the abuse, who has since been going to court. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
That's all for the bulletin this morning. For more, log on to www.myjoyonline.com. My name is Pakwisi Shandov. The show continues. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to get into the newspapers, and we have the whole set right here waiting to be served to you. Stay with us, and of course, tell a friend to tell a friend. That is going down here on the AM show. Thank you. Let me now engage our special guest of honor who is going to be delivering the keynote address. I'm just kidding. He's joining us for the conversation this morning. Kojo Poku. I like to pull pranks like that. Kojo, a very good morning to you.
I think if your hosting thing doesn't go well, let's look at comedian. What do you think? Comedian
You got me there. You got me there. You know, I'm actually.
Bro. How are you?
I am very well.
You know, that picture of me and you, I posted it, and I'm getting a lot of fans. So I'm keeping all the applauses.
Okay, I was just about to mention. So I was at this PURC event recently, 25th anniversary, and guess whom I met there as a panel member, Kojo Poku, and of course my good old friend was delivering some very insightful stuff. Keep it up, Kojo. But two things before we get into the papers. The first has to do with energy prices and where they are going. I was in Lomé, Togo, just a few days ago. And when I was coming through Ghana, I was just looking at the prices, through different regions, entering all the way to Accra. And I was scared, I was shocked. And now, in some places, it's as high as almost 20 cedis, 19 something, almost 20 cedis. And we're told in the next pricing window, it's going to go up again. So I don't know. Government has also said, Mr. President has said that they're going to find means of getting cheaper crude, bringing it into the country for the OMCs and all of that. What do you think of all of this?
Well, good morning to your listeners and your viewers. I think the fundamental problem that we all know exists is the cost of the cedi to the dollar. Like I said last week, we can have all the meetings, we can have all the consultations, but the bottom line is the provision of hard forex to the OMCs and the BDCs. As it stands now, the OMCs and the BDCs are no longer able to wait for the forward pricing in terms of the 2 weeks window. So because the dollar to the cedi is very erratic, and it's been stable over the last week because of the consultations that went on. But the fact still remains that the banks are pricing their dollar very expensive. Bank of Ghana is not able to provide all that the BDCs and the OMCs need. I'm told that they are looking to do something like $120 million a week or something like that for the OMCs. I don't have the figures right. I might be wrong. But the issue is that we need something around $300 million a month. Okay.
I thought it was about 100 million, and they were paying about a quarter of that. That is 25 million. It's now 300 million.
Well, the monthly amount that we need, like I said, the numbers is muffled in my head a little bit, but let's just use percentages. In terms of what the forex in terms of what the OMCs and the BDs need, the Bank of Ghana is only providing about 1/3 to a quarter of what they need. So They need to go and find the rest.
So that feeds into what I have, which is about 25%. So that feeds into
exactly. Yeah. So the Bank of Ghana is not providing all of them. Okay. So the OMCs and the BDCs need to go and find the rest from the banks. The banks are pricing their dollar very high. So if Mr. President said he met with them last week and had a conversation with them, I think Mr. President should meet with them again. Because as at yesterday, I can confidently tell you that the black market was far cheaper, in some cases, 1 cedi, 50 cedi cheaper than the banks. Some banks are quoting me 4 cedis, 90 pesos. 14 cedis, 90 pesos. Some banks are quoting me 14 cedis, 40 pesos. Meanwhile, the black market guy is quoting me 13.2. So clearly, the banks are the problem. So if we can't get
they are part of the problem. They are part of the problem, not the problem. They are
part of the problem, yes, I will agree. They are part of the problem, but they are the bigger part of the problem. Because I would only because bear in mind, as businessmen, Ben, for us to transfer money, we do it through our banks. So if the bank can readily give me dollar, and some of these dollar they are supposed to give me is supposed to be what they call offshore dollar. Offshore dollar is cheaper than when I want money like hard cash to withdraw dollar. So that one, they charge you a certain percentage on top of the exchange, okay? But if I want to transfer money, they use their offshore positions to transfer that money. They are selling these offshore positions very expensive. Why the banks are doing that, I have no idea. Maybe they also are trying to survive. But back to our conversation, the petrol prices and diesel prices are still high because the forex prices are still high. We will only see a reduction in the OMC and the BDC prices when the banks reduce their forex. We've had the conversations, like I said, but the basic conversation is that the dollar to the cedi is around 14.4 and 14.9 in the banks. And when people told me last week that, oh, all these prices were speculation, I keep telling them that it was not speculation. Now, the chicken has come home to roost. We found out that it's not speculation. The banks are pricing at 14.9.
Well, interesting stuff. We'll see how that pans out. Two quick things I want to run by you before I get into the daily graphic. Just very quickly, Kojo. So what is your quick reaction to the president's speech on Sunday, what he said generally about the economy? Most people felt it was bland, it lacked bite. I had KKD in the studio yesterday, he said it was a failure. What do you think? Others think he delivered. What is your take? And then, on the back of same, when I'm sure Kwesi Cheja is at least an acquaintance of yours as well, he told me yesterday that from everything that is happening, the president is in office, but he's not in power. He's in office, but he's not in power. In other words, he doesn't have his hands on the reins as far as the country is concerned. What is your quick take on these two? The address and whether he's in power?
I wouldn't go as far as saying that he's in office, not in power. Look, the president is in power, he's in charge of this nation, and he's on top of what's going on. There is a lot that has gone under him, basically gotten away from him, let's use that word. Look, in terms of most of the things that he talked of, those are some of the things which some of us have been talking about since 2013, okay? Things like getting the oil companies to deposit their monies in Ghana, things like we having to have a certain percentage of all receivables being paid through Ghana. We've been saying this to Petroleum Commission since 2013. So for me, I think we should stop coming up with solutions when we are in problems. These solutions are on the tables of all these politicians from day one. They know them. Some of the things the president said about the export regime prioritizing certain exports, those are things that Kojo Poku went to Ministry of Trade about 10, 15 years ago and argued the chief director on it. And they will tell you about WTO liberalization of trade and all those things. So it's not like they don't know about these things already. They just don't care and they don't just want to implement them. It's only when we are in crisis that people all of a sudden found wisdom to say these things. The other thing I would also put out is this. The oil price, the cheaper oil that the president says that is going to come. We are praying that he knows something we don't know. Because as far as we are concerned, all prices of oil around the world is the same. If he's having a conversation... Well,
maybe we could find a way of... I mean, we've had countries in Africa, even exploring South Africa, thinking of going for Russian oil, regardless of the embargoes on them by the West and all of that. Maybe that's the option. Maybe that's what he's thinking of. But it would have consequences, of course.
Let me tell you what the better option would have been if we had a very good relationship with Nigeria. I was part of President Kufuor's delegation to Nigeria back then when Obasanjo was helping us with cheaper oil and discounted oil and giving it to us for much longer tenure, 90 days. Okay, and I was part of that conversation. Today, Nigerians don't want to hear anything from Ghana because we are aiding and abetting people who are stealing their crude. When you saw that documentary of that bag that was arrested in Nigeria, the destination of that stolen crude was Tema. So in this country, the ports, not only are we allowing people to bring the crude in, we are looking away and not even reporting it. Stolen crude, any country that receives stolen crude, it has broken international law, okay? But look, Nigeria could have helped us. But because they are also having challenges with stolen crude and their numbers have dropped, they cannot help you. So if you have helped Nigeria to fight their stolen crude, because in the maritime waters, we could have been helping them to arrest these people who are bunkering stolen crude on our waters. Also stop them being brought into our shores. Then we could have gone to Nigeria like we did between 2001 and 2009 to now say, big brother, help us with cheaper fuel and cheaper crude.
But here's an interesting point. Here's an interesting point, Kojo. The Nigerians themselves are struggling with crude prices. I mean, their prices are far lower than ours. But in recent times, I don't know whether you followed, there's been talk about hiking the prices up and all of that. So I don't know where this comes from.
Because people are stealing you saw the documentary of these people siphoning their pipes. So they have pipelines that people have put pipes in there and siphoning those crude and selling that crude out of the country. Now, those stolen crude destination is Tema. So my point is,
you're saying that all of them are destined for Tema?
Not all of them, but the ones that were arrested. The ones that were arrested, the destination for that ship that was arrested was Tema. There's a video. I'm sure you've seen that on social media. Okay? But what I'm saying is that we are brothers, ECOWAS brothers. We should help Nigeria fight this militant stealing of crude thing. If we do that, if the people don't have anywhere to take the crude, then it will be difficult for them to steal it because there's no one to buy. If there's a ready market of Nigerian crude in Ghana, then it's easier for the people in Nigeria to steal the crude and bring it here. And the officials, security, national security, everybody is looking away, and this crude is coming into our country, though albeit stolen. So my point is that we have not helped Nigerians to curb the stealing of crude. Maybe if we don't take it, somebody else will take it. But our hands will be clean. And like I said, we can go back to Nigeria and have a conversation with Nigeria like we did with Obasanjo back then.
Okay, so in not more than 30 seconds, what was your reaction to Mr. President's address? I mean, just 30 seconds. Were you excited?
Look, it was to give us confidence. And I think it gave some people confidence. Some people didn't see any confidence in it. For me, I thought, well, it's about time. I think he should have done it a week earlier. Because when we were, and some of us knew that problem was there, and we sounded it, but everybody looked away. So do
you think it was a death blow that the former president addressed the nation on the economy before our president did?
No, but the president, the economy, the budget presentation, we'll hear what is in there. But for me, look, it is a reassuring speech. It came. Now we have a new term in town. It's giving us a new term. So now, if you start shouting like my brother, be careful. I need to learn the French version. Sound much posher.
So how? What's going to be your? I mean, what will be the paycheck if I teach you how to do it? I can teach you both versions. KKD's version and Nanado's version.
You cannot say the French version. I dare you to say it now.
Monsieur, are you daring me? L'argent n'aime pas le bruit, and you think I can say that? L'argent n'aime pas le bruit. Money doesn't like noise. And KKD's version is l'argent n'aime pas d'odeur. In other words, sikampe,
so you're good at French.
I'm surprised you don't know. How many years have you known me now? We've been friends for how long? You're now realizing it.
French. I have my own French. At the end of the show, I'll tell you my French.
I hear you. All right, Kojo, let's get into the papers. So, restoring confidence in the economy. Trade business groups hold crunch meetings. There's been the AGI, industry has met with Mr. President and they uphold President's request to come on board. So members of trade and business associations have started high-level discussions among themselves on how to carry through some of the President's requests for support to revive the economy in the short term. Since yesterday, members of the Association of Ghana Industries have been locked up in discussions on how to ramp up the production of some essential products such as vegetable oil, rice and poultry in response to the President's call for local substitutes. We're talking about import substitution. The discussions among members of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, on the other hand, are on how to increase exports from the country in order to rake in foreign exchange, while the Ghana Union of Traders Association is also impressing on its members on how to stem the increasing prices of goods and services resulting from the economic crisis. Let me halt there because we're engaging these three groups this morning on the show. But how feasible, Kojo, are all of these? Import substitution. So in other words, don't bring in this, produce it locally. If it's tomato paste, let's do this, let's do that. I think it's too little too late because we've been importing tomatoes from Burkina Faso for how long? Yes, they have a certain variety that is more juicy. Why have we sat down? We've been importing toothpicks for how long? These frozen products. You remember Akoko Dako? You remember him?
Yes.
Dako Farms and all of that.
Yes,
Our poultry industry.
Uncle. Yes.
Our poultry industry. Where you see, sometimes when some of these things come up, I just cringe because we've been sitting on this time bomb for a long time, and the knee-jerk reaction. Something happens, then we try to, but we've always had the solutions. We sit down and wait. Quick reactions.
Well, and then you ask yourself, who's the Minister of Trade? Then everybody now wants.
Are you faulting the Minister of Trade?
I don't know who the Minister of Trade is, but I'm saying that let's ask ourselves who's the Minister of Trade. And everybody gives the flag to the Vice President that, he's the one that is responsible for the woes of this country. Where are the ingenuity? Where are the innovative thinking in the last 6 years at the Ministry of Trade? Okay? Look, I said. So
you're taking on Alan Chermante. You think he's not lived up to expectation?
He has not, no. He has not lived his expectation.
That's interesting because Mr. President counts him as one of his best ministers.
Hold on, listen to me. You just enumerated things that we have known for so many years, and now in the midst of all this, we are taking a knee-jerk approach, okay, to now have these meetings and having this conversation. He has been there for 6 years. What stopped him from implementing these things? That's the truth. And I won't take back the charts. You understand? He has been there for 6 years. Look, like I said to you, I have been to the Ministry of Trade and had a confrontation with the chief director. Because my position was this. We have companies in Ghana that are suffering. Meanwhile, we have so much of a trade liberalization that encourages everything that is being produced in Ghana to also be imported. Starting with Coca-Cola, starting with all the fruit juices and stuff that people are producing in the country. Where are the protection for local industry? Okay, my position on this matter has always been that let the government take the custom list, look at the 10 top imports into this country, then give yourself a 5-year or 4-year or 3-year moratorium and say, look, all companies that are importing within this the top 5, let's call it top 5, all the companies importing these top 5, that is basically taking our forex. Let's look at a 3-year program to start manufacturing these things locally. One of them will be milk. Farm milk, how many years has it been in this country? Farm milk imports milk into this country. Where do you get milk? Cow, moo. How difficult is it to rear cows? The Amahia dairy farm sits here, right? And now they're beginning to sell the land back to the Ghan people. Why? We have all the chemicals. Certain things that are derivative from Tema Oil Refinery can give you some of those derivatives if Tema Oil Refinery is working well. We have rice. We started with some noise on Ghana-made rice. It was becoming a big thing. All of a sudden, that is going down the drain. So there is certain things that we could have done. Look, the 1D1F, let me tell you the whole concept. And along the line, everybody's gotten it wrong. The 1D1F was to be driven by demand. So you look at, like I said, you take the top 5. Look at these things that we are importing, most of that can be done locally. Then have an industry in a place in Ghana to now meet that demand so that it becomes a district and a factory. It's not just that 1D1F and we don't even know the factories that people are putting up. People are putting up anything and calling it 1D1F. What demand is it solving? So if you tell me that, look, people want to come back and have ambitions and do some of these things, everybody just wants to look at people and say, oh, a fatano, you need fritati and all these things and clap for them. Let's look at track record in the last 6 years and solutions they have preferred. You can't keep quiet and look handsome and think that you can be a leader of this country. I'm sorry.
All right, so you have taken issue with the trades minister and you have enumerated. I mean, I started pointing to some of the failures in our system. Why we're always, look, even when COVID hit, we're now scampering all around to produce face masks. When the Chinese started hoarding, they weren't delivering to the rest of the world because they also had their own needs. We said we were creating an industry on the back of our clothing industry, you get it, to produce masks and the rest. What has happened to that? So you see, we react knee-jerk, it has happened. We react and then we go to sleep.
Exactly, but let me even give you a good point. Even after COVID, the masks that we were producing during COVID were very fanciful and were very nice, right? It's not like people have stopped using face masks around the world. What's happened to the production of these face masks in Ghana? What has happened? Just because we don't do, there's no COVID, that doesn't mean that there's no need for face masks around the world. Are we exporting these face masks? No, we are not. So look, the two key pillars of our economy is trade and finance. Those are the two key pillars. Agric comes in, but even under agric, you realize that trade now overshadow agric. So you now realize that you need innovative ideas in our trade sector, and we haven't seen any. The only big idea coming out of trade is 1D1F, and like I said, it's even been implemented wrongly.
Okay. Now, here's the interesting bit. Staying on the economy, when you go to page 20, President's measures inadequate, according to 3 policy analysts. I'm talking about Professor Ransford Jampo, Professor Joseph Achu, IE, and Dr. George Asekere, who is with the University of Education winner, but the others are with the University of Ghana. And they have reasons. They have, said that the measures outlined by the president to resolve the economic crisis are inadequate and fail to address some fundamental issues. According to them, the measures did not show how to achieve the objective of restoring confidence in the economy and hope in the people. The policy analysts, like I've mentioned, are those that I spoke of. But they address some core issues. For example, a lean government. There was no talk about reducing the numbers. KKD, when he spoke to me yesterday, spoke about that. And many people have said that we can cut the size of our government down to about 65, 60 ministers. Even Nigeria, big as it is, doesn't have a gargantuan, public service, at least at the ministerial level, like we have it. So what exactly is going on? Then there's the bit about austerity interventions and no haircut. Mr. President said there would be no haircut. We've heard from Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma explaining that it's not an all-size-fits-all kind or one-size-fits-all kind of situation. But it's getting interesting because I'm getting some feedback from some people who have investments in the banks and about some things that are happening. I don't know whether the haircut is happening already. Quick take on that.
Well, there are two sides to every government. There's expenditure and there's revenue. One of the things that some of us have said is that you cannot looking at revenue without cutting down on the expenditure. The expenditure side needs to be looked at greatly. In the president's speech, he said that we are still going to pursue the infrastructure gap. That has been one of the fundamental problems. We feel that we need to do certain infrastructure quickly within the shortest possible time, which is creating this deficit in our treasury. Okay, so we really need to review the expenditure side, cutting down on ministerial appointments, cutting down on even, look, in most state-owned enterprises that never had deputies, now have 3 or 4 deputies. It's unheard of. Some of these state-owned enterprises were only managed by managing directors. Now they have 3 deputies. Then you have all these managing, ministries that now have multiple deputies. And most of them don't really do much. So yes, the expenditure of government needs to be looked at. We've heard of all the projects that, for me, I think should be reviewed, but the president is sticking to it and saying that, look, these are his core mandates and he will deliver them. But at what cost? Okay, so as much as we look to boost revenue, definitely we should look at our expenditure of the government and reduce that drastically. And it's the only way. Fitch Solutions, one of the think tanks around, have given that advice to government that you need to reduce your expenditure to basically save the economy. That's the only way. The other side of, what was the second one again?
On what? So they spoke about the haircut. Have you addressed the haircut situation?
The banks, well, we heard that the bonds, people who have investment in the banks and the bonds and stuff like that, I've read somewhere that they are only looking at the principals, but you might have to negotiate the interest or whatever that comes on top of that. I'm not privy to much of that, so I wouldn't want to comment.
Right. I am actually dealing with one such institution, but I am, in fact, a number of them, but I'm still in the investigative stage. So I also just keep it there and see whether any haircuts are happening from the banking sector. But on the back page, quickly, Qatar to break gender barrier in refereeing. So guess what? In case you didn't know, the first Winter World Cup is happening in Qatar. It's also the first World Cup in the Middle East, first technoball embedded with microchips to assist the VAR system, first semi-automated offside technology, first compact World Cup. So all the stadia are within a 55-kilometer radius. So you can imagine, you don't have to travel far. This year's tournament will also break the gender barrier. Now there are the likes of Rwandan Salima Mukasanga, who is going to be, and so these females are going to actually be the main referees. They are not going to be assistant referees, what we used to call linesmen or women and all of that. They're going to be the main ones in the thick of the action. And this is a novelty as well. For the 33-year-old Mukasanga, she became the first woman to officiate at the Africa Cup of Nations in the group stages. We also have the likes of Stephanie Frappart and Yamashuta Yoshimi. All of them, I mean, Americans, Brazilians, all of them in there. So quite a number of females will be reffing some of these matches. And FIFA has made it clear, Infantino has made it clear that it is not just because they are women, it is because they are qualified to do this. And I love that fact that has been re-echoed.
Well, my quick take on that will be, normally when referees make very controversial decisions, the players now rush them and go right in their face. I want to see when that happens with the female referee, because now it might now be... You understand? Because, no, but you see, it's okay when you are that in the face of a male referee. If all the players now start going in the face of a female referee, how would that be seen around the world? So that's some of the things that we need to be careful of, because, as much as it's good to have gender balance in most of the sports, because, look, the female football is 90 minutes, the male football is 90 minutes. I don't see why the female referees cannot referee male games. There's nothing wrong with that. But my take will be the funny confrontation that happens with some of the aggressive footballers who normally goes in front of referees and insult them anyhow and throw them off. We want to see how that will pan out when we have female referees.
Let's quickly do the Ghanaian Times newspaper. I'll improve access, quality, healthcare delivery before end of tenure. That's according to Mr. President. But Mr. President, I want to remind you that the La Hospital, it was razed to the ground. They still have no hospital. People there are constantly lamenting the situation. So as you go about the other activities, please remember the people of La. Anti-LGBTQI plus bill to be passed before 2024 election. The Speaker has assured, but some have not responded positively to that. And you remember that bill. It may be not so high on the radar anymore, but it is out there. FDA warns public against Ascot diet products. So the FDA, this story is on page 4. The FDA has warned the general public against the use of Ascot diet. It's a brand. According to the FDA, the Ascot diet, a weight loss product produced by the Ascot Diet Clinic, has not been registered by the authority. These were contained in a statement issued by the FDA and copied to the Ghanaian Times over the weekend. So you go for it, know that there is no certification on that. It shouldn't even be on the market. That's the whole thing, because it doesn't have legitimacy. It shouldn't be there. No haircut, good for financial market. Public reacts to president's address to the nation. That's it. Quick reactions?
Well, yeah, I think FDA should have a very big monitoring out there, because there are some of these things that are not supposed to be on the market, that we find them on the market. I don't know what the monitoring part of FDA is doing, but I think FDA should up their game and save us from some of these dangerous chemicals that are out there.
Let's look at the Daily Guide newspaper now, and some very interesting stories there as well. Government to partner Rand refinery. That story is on page 6. We're talking about the energy sector, so quickly on that. Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia says government is ready to collaborate with the board and management of Rand Refinery to help Ghana obtain London Bullion Market Association certification, underscoring the importance of the LBMA certificate to the government's plan to develop the mineral industry and make Ghana a key player in the refinery of mineral resources. Dr. Bawumia said attaining the certification would propel Ghana to participate and exploit fully the benefits in the mineral value chain. There's also Ekumfi Chief's disowned Mankasim killer. You remember him, the one who, together with a pastor, had killed about 4 people. But there's also IMF mooted financial sector cleanup. That story is on page 3. And Nana warns traders on greedy profits. You remember on Sunday, he spoke about the fact that he hesitates to call them names. I found that very interesting. And he said that the traders should, cut down their margins, not want exploitative margins. Quick reactions?
Yes. Yesterday, I granted an interview on that note. Look, one of the things that Bank of Ghana should also do is to provide a lot of coins. You know, when we redominated our currency, something interesting happened. We took 10 cities, we took 10,000 cities and make it one city. Now, when we had 10,000 cities, if somebody is to increase a price, he will probably increase the price by 2,000 or increase the price by 4,000, which in today's terms is either 20 pesos or 40 pesos. Now, it's difficult for people to increase prices by 20 pesos and 40 pesos because at the back of their mind, they need to find change for people. So we realize that people are only doing incrementals of either 50 or 1. And mostly they go for 1. So they increase by 2 cities, they increase by 3 cities, but if you increase by 2 cities, you are increasing by 20,000 Ghana cities, 20,000 old cities, which is crazy. So that is the problem that we have in our markets. If we had the old money, which was 10,000, which is 1 city, you will not increase a product by 20,000 Ghana cities back then. Right. You increase it by 5 cities or increase it by 2,000 cities. So Bank of Ghana should look into that by providing coins and change to make sure that when people are selling, they are able. It's only in Ghana that you enter a shop. Then the favorite word from the ladies at the counter is that, oh, I will owe you 50 pesos. Oh, I will owe you 30 pesos. Oh, I will owe you. Why do you want to owe me?
Right.
Meanwhile, if you have to make up the change, they'll ask you, oh, master, I count 30 pesos. Then you have to walk to your car and find the 30 pesos and bring it. Meanwhile, if they have to give you 30 pesos, oh, boss, metal car 30 pesos. Why?
Anyway.
So it's a problem. That area is a problem. So we need to look at that. That is a fundamental problem in our markets. And that is why prices go up in incremental of 50 and 1, which is a very difficult thing. Now, the Rand refinery thing, I think the vice president was talking about gold refinery.
Yes, he was. Not. It wasn't oil. When I read the details.
Yes, the gold refinery. So we are looking to refine our gold locally to boost the added value that we've been trying to do for a long time. So I think that's a good thing in the right direction.
Right. Let's quickly look at a few stories. I want us to do some business stories in the next minute. But before that, quick reactions to this. Akufo-Addo considering cutting ministers, says Oponkroma, that is the information minister. KKD sat here with me yesterday and said that, look, all the deputy ministers should be cut off. All deputy ministers. I don't know what your take is on that. And that is the Chronicle newspaper I was just addressing. Akufo-Addo considering cuts in ministers, says Oponkroma. Then there's 3.8 million Ghanaians lack safe drinking water. That's according to the minister, sector minister. And then in the Finder newspaper, 87.5% of Ghanaians say country is headed in the wrong direction. 87.5%. And that's the latest Afrobarometer survey. They've been doing this for decades, and that is what they say. Quick reactions to that, and then we'll just do some business stories and get out of here.
I always find it a bit difficult when people say that ministers should be removed, reduced, and all that. Look, the work of government, if you understand how government works, you would really be hesitant in agreeing that we should reduce the ministers. Because if you take the ministers out, then what happens to the sectors that they oversee? If you take out the deputy ministers, what happens to the work that they are supposed to do to help the minister? The problem is that they have not delivered. If remember the famous word, I'm in a hurry, so I want to achieve a lot, and that's why I appointed 149 ministers. And, the issue is that the ministers were appointed.
But have we got the results from the hurry and the appointment of these ministers? Have we got the results from them?
Exactly. We didn't get the results. So for me, we should go to look at the end, not the means. The end does not justify the means in this case, because we had 149 ministers and we've not gotten the results. But how do we now make that work? Because my fear in when we say reduce ministers, if we reduce those ministers in those sectors, what happens to the sectors? Because it's not like there are ministers who are sitting around doing nothing. There are ministers in charge of sectors. And if we reduce those ministers, are we going to amalgamate these ministries? Then it becomes too big to control.
Okay.
So my focus should be in getting results and putting in measures to make sure that ministers deliver. And if they don't, you sack them and replace them. That is the solution. Reducing ministers.
Let's just end with this. So, Economy Times, the thrust of your messages is quite clear. Economy Times, CD begins to recover after months of free fall, but the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry says over-reliance on monetary policy to fight inflation, stabilize the CD, not working. And I want you to digest this. Fuel price overtakes minimum wage, first in history. And when you look at the minimum wage is 13 cedis, 53 pesos. But of course, fuel prices are around, diesel is selling at close to 20 cedis. At the fuel pumps, even Save, what do they even call it? Super Save is selling at 17 cedis something, and the rest, depending on where you're going. Quick reaction to this, 30 seconds, I have to get out of here.
Well, we need to do more than just the monetary policies in trying to now look. We need to show up the city in the system. We need to show up the city to gain strength by basically bringing more forex liquidity for the companies. Then we need to look at changing the guard. That I don't know why the president is refusing that. He needs to change his ministers.
Kojo, you fancy hey so why would him that?
But that me say meka assembly actual sika nepala.
Sika mpede o. Kojo, what that's
sika. My one is sika nepala.
Sika nepala.
That means
money is not there or what?
Sika nepala, there's no money. That's my French for the day. Sika nepala.
Sika nepala. Okay, that's Sika your rendition. As for me, I say Ishuru. Thank you so much, Kojo Poku, for joining the conversation. And we wish you the very best of the day. That is Kojo Poku, an energy analyst. But coming up in sports, we'll be telling you about Asante Kotoko and how they claimed the bragging rights in the regional derby. That, together with international stories, up next.
Good morning. Time now to do sports here on the AM show with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, they claimed the bragging right in the regional derby as they defeated King Faisal 3-0 at Babayara Sports Stadium. Ugandan Mukwala opened the scoring before subsequent goals from Captain Richard Boadu and Nicholas Mensah condemned King Faisal to 4 successive defeats. Elsewhere in Tamale, Real Tamale United and Tamale City also played out a 1-1 stalemate at the Aliu Mahama Sports Stadium.
Kodrapao. Nete will join the attack. It's the pass once again to Dixon. Now players committed in the 18-yard box. The connection was good. First time of asking, and eventually Mukwala hits the back of the net.
This is marvelous. Super goal from the Porcupine Warriors. I mean, they've been bright, they've been excellent, but that was a lovely 1-2 between Dixon Afuakwa and Christopher Nete down the right side. And what a cross, what a ball inside. And Makwela with his first goal for the Porcupine Warriors in the Bet Power Premier League. Delightful cross. And just look at the finish, super finish. And Jabal beat it there. First is that combination down the right side. And what a cross from Afuakwa. Simple touch. Nyamfa can't get close to Mukwela, who touches the ball with the left foot and straight to the back of the net, and goalkeeper beat it there. And the Porcupine Warriors are looking marvelous this evening.
Coming forward once again, Enoch Morrison. This time it's a long pass. Good run by Tideku. Sets up the cross. Goal number 2, it should have been cleared out by King Faisal. But of course the referee has the advantage. Oh, this is sweet flowing from Asante Kotoko.
Yeah, there again. Just look at that pass right from midfield, and it's Tideku who lashes onto it with a delightful cross. A goalkeeper in no man's land crashed into Mukwela, who had made contact with the ball.
28 minutes gone. It's still the first half. It's King Faisal nil, Kotoko 1. Kotoko have a penalty. It's Boadu against Jabal. What a thunderbolt of a shot.
Yeah, it's a rocket. Zoom straight first of all to the bar and zoom straight into the net. And what a relieved person he is, Richard Boadu.
That's a no-nonsense penalty.
There we see it again. Blasted that one straight to the crossbar, but because of that power behind the ball, it's Zubi straight into the net. It's
playing from right to left, and it's Kotoko on the offensive at this stage. Haruna gets to the ball, tidies up nicely, and clears out. Half-time, Kotoko led by 2-0. And it's obvious that Kotoko would want to continue with the pressure they put on their opponents. That man played a big part. Dixon Afuakwa sends the cross to the middle. Mukwala sets up the pass. Easy does it.
Yeah, simply unstoppable, Kotoko today. On fire, twisting and turning with that cross inside. Mukwala with composure, setting it up for Mensah, who finished with a plumb. Then again, very lackadaisical defending. But all kudos to Dixon Afuakwa. And just look at that play from Mukwala, setting it on the plate for Mensah to finish home. It's a lovely finish. And Kotoko at it again. Yeah, he turns beautifully, and when he link up with Mukwala, he sets it up on the plate. And
it's Mana for RTU. Here's Hafiz Adams. Now a Bagna. Good run from Hafiz Adams. He sets up Kushibo, and that's the opening goal for Real Tamale United. The pride of the North have broken the deadlock. Baba Kushibo, but that was some good passing play from the Real Tamale United team. It's RTU 1 up against Tamale City. I've seen Hafiz Adam in this game, and of course, Abagna is in the build-up again. Hafiz Adam in this game, I've not really been able to produce quality from that side. But the one time that he keeps his calm and picks a good pass, Kushibu arrives, keeps the effort, controls it low, goalkeeper gets a hand to it, but not strong enough to tip it around the post. He just flipped off his hand into the back of the net. And it's RTU who are good to be good deep into the first half and almost at the end of it. 43 minutes approaching 45. Tamale City in search of the equalizer. Here is Isaac Mensah. He sends a cross in. Did it go out or not? It's still Tamale City. Good dummy. Can they get an equalizer here? Is it penalty? Penalty. Went through him, and it's just the defender can make contact, but goalkeeper commits himself, and that is a contact there right onto the leg of the player. Referee was so sure of what he has seen, and I agree with him. He's wasting too much time. Referee whistles. Mensah steps back. Here comes Mensah. He steps forward. And Mensah equalizes for Tamale City. They are back on level pegging. It's 1-1 in the Tamale derby. What a response. What a response from them, right from going down. Goalkeeper Lukman guesses right, but it's beaten by the pace and the angle of the effort. And this is a better view of it. Look at him, he's very steady, goalkeeper Lukman. But Isaac Mensah picks his spots really well.
To the national team, the Black Meteors, their head coach Ibrahim Tanko, he says he will need the services of foreign-based players to augment his team for the final round of the Africa Under-23 Cup of Nations qualifiers. Ghana will play DR Congo in the final round of the qualifying phase, and Tanko reckons he would need the services of players like Felix Afinajan, Fatai Sahaku, Kamaldeen Sowa, and many others to help him secure qualification to the championship.
Happy, and the only thing we want is to qualify, and I think the boys did a very good job in Mozambique before we play here. Every player who is playing outside, if he's a Ghanaian and qualify for this team, why not? I mean, we want the best for the country. It's not only about the local players, it's also about the foreign players. So we just want to have a very good side, both local and foreign. So we are going to have a mix, yeah, and then hope that we will qualify to the AFCON. All of them are motivated, as players. Of course, also the technical team. The only target is Olympics, but we have to qualify to the Africa, and then through that we can qualify to the Olympics. So everyone is aware. Since 2004, all of us want to make a mark. So, like I said before, we are very good players so that we will have a very big chance to qualify. And we have Fatau, we have Afanijan, we have Aldin, all of them qualify for this team. Those who played on the 20 previous one, most of them are there. So, I mean, we want players.
To the senior national team, the Black Star, they will participate in the FIFA World Cup later this year, specifically this month. The tournament starts in the next 19 days, and former president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi, he says Ghana has got the quality to compete at this year's World Cup. Speaking on Prime Take, the former CAF first vice president who led Ghana to 3 World Cups touted the qualities of individual players in the team.
I think we have some of the best players in this team. You can't take anything away from Kudus. Kudus can play in any team in the world. Thomas Partey, you can't take anything away from him. You can't take anything away from Inaki, who is now in the team. I chased him many, many times. I met his father, his family members, and I didn't succeed. Yeah. Salisu is at the prime of his career. We have some of the best players. The rest of the work now is how to manage these players, blend them, and ensure that they produce the desired results for us. That is the responsibility of Otto Addo and the management of the FA led by my friend Keto Kreku. I hope that they will live up to expectation. I think Otto must put in his very, very best. This is an opportunity for him as one of the few black coaches from Ghana, the second after Kwesi Appiah, to lead the Black Stars to the World Cup. Unfortunately, the country is behind him, and he has to deliver. He should not let us down.
Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. And right now, we're going to be talking about the role of Parliament in resolving our economic crisis. I mean, how do we get through this entire maze, economic maze? How do we find our way through, get out of the woods? Joining us for the conversation, Kweku Ricketts-Hagan is Member of Parliament, Cape Coast South. He is also a former Deputy Finance Minister. We also have, he's not been here in a while. I'm sure we all miss him. We call him Sticker, real name Dr. Stephen Amwa, Member of Parliament in Shire, so Member of Parliament's Finance Committee. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, so I'm going to lay some ground rules, right? And it's because, Charlie, the fire, you know, we had a pre-discussion, and the fire they were bringing, so I'll just have to say this to both of you gentlemen. I just hope that you will keep the noise down. Yes, let's have a very interesting, maybe even feisty conversation, but you all know, l'argent n'est pas libre. Si kampe dede, intimaye nye dede. Dr. Amwa, ye nye dede, yes sir. So the Ghana city will not be suppressed even further.
We have destructive interference of waves.
And
what constructive
ones as well. Okay.
So it depends.
Okay, so we'll be making constructive noise, eh?
That is sound. That's the difference in physics. The difference between sound and noise is that we can all be producing output which will seem like, oh, dede. But one of them is constructive because the waves involved are constructive. And they are destructive. Destructive in a noise and a constructive. The president's statement is about the destructive one.
Okay. So we are not going to be making any discordant.
Any destructive
discordant way. Matiasi. Okay, so we're here to talk about the economy. I want to start from Mr. President's address last Sunday at around 8 p.m. Depending on which station you were following, it started at 8 exactly or a little after 8 o'clock. I'll start with you, Kweku.
Yeah.
For you, what were your key takeaways? I mean, on social media, people have had their say. But what is your say on what Mr. President had to share with us? He spoke about traders who are making exorbitant profits, saying that they should cut down, mitigate in a way what they are hoping to get on the back of the financial situation we find ourselves in. He spoke about import substitution, producing some things locally rather than, importing them, and even getting to the point where we are exporting a lot of these bits as well. quite a number of things he had to say. Oh, and he also mentioned that there will be no haircut, and there have been explanations to that. I've heard some people forcefully say that there will be a haircut, whether it will be Sakura or punk or what kind of, there will be a haircut. What's your take?
Thanks very much, and good morning to our viewers this morning. Morning to my brother. It was quite unfortunate because I think there was a lot of expectations, basically by the citizens and also by the international community or the investor community. You remember people were calling for this because during the COVID, we had a president in our homes pretty much every week. And that if this was supposed to be an aftermath of the COVID crisis, as you put it, one would expect that the president will continue to engage the citizens to let us know exactly what is going on and what they are trying to do to fix the problem. So people were calling for this, and they eventually came. But it was quite disappointing because what the people were expecting the president to do in terms of taking leadership and telling us exactly what they are doing or what they are going to do to fix the problem, that did not come out with the clarity that we were looking for and still left us in a state of uncertainty. Now, when I listened to him, most of the things he was talking about, and you have just alluded to some of them here, are things that we have, not only him, but we have all talked about, how as a country we depend so much on import and we export very little, which is part of the structural challenges that we have, and all the things that we've talked about, which he talked about as well, that we should be doing. But he did not provide the leadership in terms of providing solutions and the details of it. I do understand that the president only talks about the high-level issues and probably somebody will come in and fill the gaps. But the little details that we expected on some of the policy directions were really not forthcoming.
Which ones specifically?
Well, let's start with the currency, for instance, because I want to start with the big issues that are really hitting us or causing the challenges that we have at the moment. And the currency is one. First of all, the president says that there's going to be new monies coming in. The question is, which new monies? Are we talking about the cocoa syndicated loan that we already know about, that is on its way coming? Or is there some new money that the president is privy to that we are not aware of? Of course, what it did confirm, because we didn't know about the cocoa money, it did confirm that at least some cocoa money will be coming in. And of course, it will be a relief. I think the market responded to that. But it's only for a short while. I mean, at the moment, we are running the country as if we are firefighting. Basically, we don't seem to have a plan. We don't seem to have a strategy. It's basically try and error and coming up with things that solve the problem momentarily, and then the problem resurfaces, and when it does, it's much bigger. The other thing, so that is where I hope that the finance minister will come, and this is what Parliament comes in, to really tell us exactly if there's any new money coming from somewhere other than the cocoa money that we're looking at. He did talk about other things around the currency issues to do with all these people who sell currencies, around the country and all that. And I don't think...
Is the Bank of Ghana not already working on some of those? We know the actions that have been taken against the black market operators
that is what I'm saying.
Some Forex Bureau have been shut down.
Yeah, the things that he's talking about. I mean, I would have gone further than that. But some of the things he's talking about are already happening. So they weren't really anything new.
Okay.
And the problem still persists. All these things we've talked about, the problem is still going on. So what is new? You had a weekend of a meeting at Peduase with all your ministers and all that. And we were expecting the president to come with
tangible solutions, not wishful thinking. A lot of the things he was talking about were actually things that the president wishes. Now, what the president fails to know, or this government fails to understand, is that they have, let's say, 3 problems. Number 1 is that this government, this president, suffers from policy credibility. The government also suffers from lack of confidence by its own citizens and the investment community. And then, of course, the third one is some kind of liquidity, money that we need as a stopgap as we work on, medium to long-term things. It is for that reason that we are at IMF, for that credibility and for that investor confidence. So if the government comes, or if the president comes and says things, the president must understand that he already suffers from this policy credibility. Therefore, a lot of the things he says are not taken seriously because people believe that...
So you're suggesting Mr. President and his team have a credibility deficit?
Yes, they do.
That's what you're saying.
The president himself has his own credibility, and then his government, the entire government, and then also the people who are doing all these negotiations with the IMF. I think the president is ill-advised because he said certain things that you will not expect the president to say.
Like what?
Just a second. The president's principal economic and finance advisors are his finance minister and the minister of state are the minister of finance at the presidency.
At the presidency. You're talking about Edu Buahin.
These are the two, Edu Buahin and Ken Ofori-Atta. These are the 2 people who suffer their own credibility issues together with somehow deflated or beleaguered finance ministers. And I have a feeling now that they are trying to save their own image before the president by not giving the president the right advice. Because certain things, and then you ask me what? I'm sure we'll come to all this, but this haircut issue.
So very quickly on that, because we'll have time to...
The haircut issue is something that I was not expecting the president to talk about. But somebody must have advised the president that there are people out there speculating, or what they call people doing, some kind of a propaganda or whatever, about the fact that the country might ask for a haircut. And that the president should come out and diffuse that.
You think that was a wrong move?
It's a wrong move because they did not explain. And I don't expect the president to understand what a haircut is or what that entails. He was definitely advised to make that statement.
You're saying, but he said definitively, there will be no haircut.
Now,
you're assuming he just said that?
The president is not part of the IMF negotiation, even though he leads the country. He has put people there to negotiate. You don't come out of an ongoing negotiations to talk about things that you yourself claim you have not agreed on. We are not sure. Their sustainability analysis has been done as we understand it. The negotiations is about to get to a staff level agreement. Where you get at the staff level agreement is where you get the opportunity. And remember, as we said, staff level agreement, it does not mean that you are definitely going on the program until you go to the board. But what the staff level agreement does is that it opens the door for you, for your creditors, or for you to engage your creditors on the form of restructuring. The word restructuring comes out of the word structure. You have an existing loans with a certain structure that doesn't work for you.
Right.
You are not able to pay. So you need to restructure. You don't come out to preempt what form of restructuring you are going to do. Because people out there are saying that you are going to do a haircut. Sorry, my brother.
Right.
You are going to do a haircut and that you are coming to diffuse it. It doesn't diffuse the problem. Now, it puts us all in a serious, problem. What type of... Are you going to be doing restructuring? If your debt is not sustainable, according to the DSA, the natural progression is that you'll be doing a debt restructuring.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you're going to do a debt restructuring, what form of debt restructuring are you going to be doing? Because there are many forms of restructuring that you can do, haircut being one of them. Now, are you restructuring domestic debt or external debt? Are you doing haircut or you are doing other forms of restructuring? These things are all not out yet. So to come out emphatically and say that you are not doing a haircut, you haven't even got to the staff level to be making that determination. So that was ill advice. And the president should not have come to do that thinking that that will stem off or that will take off the speculation.
Stave off, speculation.
Well, speculation that's going on.
But then again, can you blame Mr. President? Because there are speechwriters, there are communicators, there are people in charge of all of this.
That's what I'm saying. That the advisors, and I'm talking forget about speechwriters. Speechwriters write English. The technicalities or the economics and the finance should be coming from the finance minister or whoever is at the negotiation table with the IMF. Because this is a communication straight to the IMF, not only to us, that I'm not doing haircutting. You haven't even started that portion of the negotiation, but you're already ruling yourself out of, possible talking. You owe money to people.
Okay.
It is not entirely up to you to rule out certain things, and then you shoot yourself in the foot.
Okay.
By saying that even if people are considering that they are going to cut their losses by agreeing to some kind of a haircutting, you yourself come out and say, I'm not doing any haircutting. And therefore, you are limited.
Okay.
So in what you intend to.
Thank you for your initial thoughts. And maybe just to quickly because I wanted to go to Doc on this, but just a quick one. Because you made mention of Ken Ofori-Atta and Edubuahin. What role does the Vice President, the head of the economic management team, play in all of this? There has been a lot of talk about, this and that. I don't want to get into that. But what role does he play, since you are singling out the finance minister and
is the vice president really part of the economic management team now?
Is that a question to ask, especially when we know he is head of the team?
Because we haven't heard from him.
Must you hear from him directly before?
Of course.
He's not.
He is supposed to look before the president comes in. The vice president is supposed to shield the president. Okay, he is the head of the economic management team. He's somehow supposed to be, not necessarily even if he's not at the negotiating table in Washington, at least when they come to Accra, you would expect that the vice president, is part of it. I am not quite sure who actually is heading the delegation in terms of the negotiation. I assume it's Ken Ofori-Atta. You remember when we went to the IMF, the president came out clearly, President Mahama. The person who was heading the IMF negotiation was not Honorable Setepe. It was, what is it called, Dr. or Professor Kwesi. Okay? Here now, I am not quite sure, because we were told that the president, when my colleagues' friends went to the president with the idea that they wanted the finance minister out and all that, the president told them that, look, let's allow the finance minister to complete the IMF negotiation. That itself, it's problematic.
We'll get into that question, but thank you very much for those initial comments.
So my question to you is that, is the vice president still the head of the economic management?
Maybe you should address that. Yes. I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
All right.
You should address it to Dr. Amwa. Doc, maybe we can start from there. I would ask for your reflections on what Mr. President, said in his address on Sunday, but he has a question he's just put to you. Would you mind answering?
Thank you very much. My regards to our cherished viewers and listeners this very morning. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, this platform. Surprisingly, in times such as this, one would have expected the opposition members positioning themselves in a way that they will think they are really taking this country serious, they are taking the crisis serious, and they up to something very constructive. For my senior brother and my friend to ask you this question, demonstrate the fact that our brothers from the our brothers from the NDC, indeed have nothing constructive for us. They are not very serious. I mean...
So based on what are you saying this?
But as the answer lies with you. Why is he asking you to answer him? What's your jurisdiction?
But in any case, he deflected
No,
the question. He deferred to you.
I'm asking, we are serious handling serious issues in our country today. We are in an outlier situation. There's a global crisis that you know that even prices of developed economies, averagely 300% post-COVID. UK, even now that it has reduced from 10 to 8.8. Post-COVID inflation rate, and because of the war, even now it's 405%. 405%. We depend on them economically. So what happened to us? We are in a situation that we don't have to do too much politics because we want to come to power. The vice president is still the head of the economic management team, and he's playing active role. And the fact of the matter is that every organization, every government structure has segmental or segmentalized jurisdictions. So we have the vice president is not the interface player, and then he doesn't operationalize our economic activity. So you don't say if the finance minister comes out or the president comes out because he's been briefed by his ministers to speak, you say, if Baumia had come to
he was suggesting that
if
as head
Baumia
of the economic management team,
they would have also asked where is the president.
He's a bit of a stopgap before the president in terms of economic
So he should come and speak before the president. Where is the model? Where? Tell me. Let's get to serious issues, my brother.
But no,
you are just destroying my time with this whole.
No. This is a crucial matter.
In times such as this, that he's asking you, Vice President,
before your
are you allowing
administration
me
came to power.
Let me speak.
When there's a question, at least let it come up. We are talking about the same.
Whether Vice President is the key issue you want us to discuss right now on your platform?
No, I just want us to get
I've answered he is. Can we move on?
Yes, we can. But hold on. Before your administration came to power, no one was asking why now President Akufo-Addo was not the one speaking about, economic affairs. It was the vice president who was talking about it all the time.
Which one?
Is it wrong?
No,
it was Dr.
The president
Baumia? He was the one giving the
president was not
about
speaking,
the economy.
The president was not speaking on economic issues. The president was speaking as a statesman, just like the COVID. We have global crisis. It has affected Ghana. And the president felt he had to speak, not necessarily president concentrating on economic issue. That's not true. Can I move on?
A very final bit. So should we see the vice president in the thick of things when it comes to our IMF negotiations? That's my final bit to you.
Of course.
Should we see him actively
Of course, but who told you he's not actively involved? Who said that?
I never said that. I'm asking you, should we see him actively involved? That's all I'm asking.
You shouldn't even ask because it is an inevitable fact. But what I'm saying is that the IMF they are talking about, they've met us, me sitting here, and my brother sitting here, the finance committee. World Bank has met us, or they have met us. So all the lies and the speculations going about, sometimes I wonder if indeed Ghana truly is God's country we're talking about. Or just because of politics, we need to abandon God and lie, speculate, get Ghanaians scared, so that people will vote for us? Is that what we are talking about? I think the most important thing we need to discuss this morning is what the president said. My brother, or my senior brother, is saying that, the president did not say anything new. If we had to do we had to do comparative analysis. The former president, what did he say? He that even has luxury of time. Tell me any new thing that he proposed. I don't want to go in there. So far as I am concerned, the situation we have today has to be put in three main
thematic areas?
Yes, folders. One, we should be able to honestly analyze and appreciate and accept the causes of what is happening today.
Okay.
And I see that twofold. One, as a country, chronically, our economy, because it depends on other jurisdictions or other economies, we are not very strong. Let's be very honest. So we need a long-term approach, very comprehensive approach, to deal with this thing once and for all, the import-driven economy. Two, the severity of what is happening right now. Any honest, God-fearing person who is not suffering from unconscious incompetence or just displaying intellectual dishonesty will not say that it has been exacerbated by the global crisis. Unless you don't go to church or mosque, or you go but you think God doesn't exist. Because
you mean it has not been. If you say it has been, I think you mean anyone who is of any sound mind.
I'm saying he will not say it has not been.
Yes, you said it has been. That's what the not didn't come. That's why.
Boss, you know what I'm talking about. Don't try to get me off my track. What I'm saying is that
I am not. I'm just trying to get you to clarify.
No, you didn't hear me. If that was what you heard, I'm clarifying it now. That any honest, God-fearing person who is not being ignorant or is just displaying intellectual dishonesty will not accept the fact that this thing that we are talking about, it has got nothing to do with the war. What I'm trying to say is that we depend on giant economies. We are not comparing ourselves to them. But UK's inflation rate has been increased from 1.74, it went to 10, now it's 8.8, which is 405%. UK, they say, US, they say, all giant economies, they are the same. But we buy from them. So once we accept that this is this acute crisis is as a result of this, then we can find solution to it if you don't understand your problem. 2, the president also made a number of statements that the behaviors of we all as stakeholders, which was very critical in times such as this. And then he went further to tackle the technical aspect. 1, we have problems with our currency. He went to the extent of addressing basic things that are always causing these issues. So that when there's small global turbulence, it aggravates our problems. And that is the importation of common food items. He made mention of rice.
That's something we've not known?
No, we are doing, but we are not doing it probably the way to meet, the demand.
He made mention of 1D, 1F as well. We've known this.
I'm coming.
But
what else you want to do?
Still marked time.
Yeah, but every statement by any government all over the world, a statement made before. Tell me. Because they are the critical factors or drivers, and they are very relevant parameters. So the president says that, yes, we need to have a second look and quickly work on these things. The president also talked about the fact that government is still going to commit itself and even increase, possibly, cutting down expenditure. And certain caps for the statutory aspect. Cutting down expenditure, what the president meant was the discretionary spending arm of our budget. Things that the president can decide not to spend or reduce. The president decided to go and do this thing. Also improve revenue generation percentage of our GDP from about 13% to between 18 and 20. If people don't understand these things, they shouldn't go and do propaganda with it. These are very important issues. Look, you see, one of the things that is destroying our country today, or even deepening the already existing hardships we are having, is the speculation. This very morning, your own brothers here, JoyNews, are just opening to it. A certain woman says she cannot even buy food for herself and her children. My brother, is there any period in our history in this country that every mother can buy for the children?
Is there any period as well when things escalate to the point where more and more people are...
Is there any period that...
No, I'm throwing the question back to you.
I'm also asking you, is there any period that the people we depend on, within about 1 year, their inflation rate moves over 400%? Is there any time like that we depend on them? Tell me, is there any time like that?
What are the effects of that?
Because we buy from them, so it impacts us. Look, what you are wearing, we imported them. So if on their market is bad, what will happen? Is there any period that in this country...
Is that not based on your currency? Is that not based on your currency and its depreciation?
So who caused it?
We've always been buying from them.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is we have a long... I'm not sure you really understand what I'm talking about. But if you allow me to flow, because it's not fair. You didn't engage him like that. Can you allow me to flow? Then you ask me a question.
Well, I will have to interject when there's need for
that.
Go ahead.
Check the number of times you interjected. Don't do that. It's
Go
not
ahead.
Now you throw me out of the points I'm making.
Based on the points we are making, I would interject based on the point. I wouldn't say I'll interject him 10 times and interject you 10 times. That's not how a conversation goes. Please go ahead, Dr. Amwa.
So now, where do I start? It's not fair.
You start from
at least you allow
importing all of these things.
You have apportioned times. Allow somebody to also speak.
Go ahead, Mr. Amwa. Time is running.
Because if you interject me again, you ask me, so I won't stop.
Go ahead.
The country is heading where we all have to be serious. Now, even how to continue is a serious issue. Because as a moderator, let me land. Then you ask
Mr.
me a
Amwa,
question.
go ahead with your
The question you ask, I'm also asking you. Has there been any period in our country today that a time came that all of us had to stay home? Nobody should go to work. Has there been a period in our history that a time came that even after we moved out of nobody should go to work, government decided to allow 5 out of 10 people to go to work and everybody was being paid? Has there been a period like that? So you cannot compare wartime to peacetime. We have outlier situations. When Ghanaians complain, they are right because there's hardship. But let's be honest with God and man that it is not the doing of this country. Probably the severity of it is as a result of the fact that for 40 years down to my government, we have not been really as a country position ourselves well to be independent. That one I agree. But if we don't want to go by that, I can also still say that apart from the fact that some of the parameters are bad, some are saying even better than we took over.
All right.
GDP growth was about 3.2, 3.4. Now it's about 4%. It's about 4%. Even policy rate of the government was about 25.5. Now it's 24.5.
Go ahead, but you also remember that at a point we had a GDP growth of around 14-point-something%.
You know what they handed over. That one. Are you aware? That one. No, but that one was the oil tender came shortly. So what did they hand it over?
Was it a GDP?
No, my brother.
Was it a GDP percentage or not?
What?
Was it our GDP growth?
So what did they leave? Can I ask you one question? If they give Joy FM to you, and at a point you make profit of 1 billion, and the time you're handing over to me, the profit is 1 million. You say that hail me because there was a time I made. Okay. You talk about what you left.
All right.
What? No, let me finish. Because you can't say all right. You have not made me speak. Please allow me to.
We don't have all the time. Do you know that you've actually spent?
That is why sometimes when you call me, I don't want to come.
You've spent a lot of time.
No, but it's like because you don't let me speak. You engage me like we are doing one-on-one.
So wrap on this point so we can go.
We are doing one-on-one. It's not fair. It's not.
Go ahead.
Somebody got GDP 14, short time, and the time he handed over power, the GDP was 3.2, and you're happy with the 14. Is that what you want to compare? I'm surprised. I am saying that this government that we have today, but for this government, things would have been worse. That is a fact. Okay. Things would have been worse. If not anything at all, under Akufo-Addo's government, with all the challenges we are having, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of social intervention policies, i.e. kind and cash, talking about free school, sustaining the existing ones, they are better. Can you compare Okada to free school? Okada. You can't compare Okada. And when we met IMF, the NDC guys should come and speak. What did they say? They said that our problems we are having today is as a result of the COVID and Russian war. They said it, not us. The IMF said that. But why are we suddenly throwing away facts, the truth, and lying and speculating and behaving like the same speculators this morning on JoyNews? That they were saying that, there's
saying nothing. Joy FM.
Yes, there is no clue. There is no clue. Right on the same platform, after 5 minutes, go and listen to their own news. Government says that government is now engaging the countries. Let me land.
Versus. So, Mr. Dr. Boss, are you saying that when you are talking, there can't be any interjection?
No, but I can't.
What kind of conversation is that? It's not a monologue, it's a dialogue.
But what you're doing is bad.
You understand?
You are not making me talk. Man, you see now, you ask me.
Okay.
But when I open my mouth, you interject.
Then what I'll do is, I will limit my questions to you. I hope you will not complain about that. Go ahead.
What you're doing is not fair.
Go ahead.
No. I'm not saying don't ask me a question.
I can't ask you. So you go ahead, land, and then I'll move on to...
I will land right now, but maybe I'm making myself clear to you. If I open my mouth and I don't land, you wouldn't know the meaning of what I'm saying. You can change it. That's what I'm saying. I beg you.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Let me land. Then you come in. What I'm saying is that the same person or persons that they were saying that government had no clue, the same platform this morning, right now that they said that after 5 minutes, they were giving out the steps taken by the government to reduce fuel prices and stuff like that by engaging countries that the same people. So we are saying that we should also stop the bad speculation because it's not right. That is all that I'm saying. It is not right.
Have you landed?
Landing, what I'm saying is that what Akufo-Addo's government sought to do when he presented the statement, to accept the fact that there's hardship, show empathy with Ghanaians, and said that ABCD, we should stop speculations, noise on the market, because they are not helping us. 3, trying to take steps to reduce government expenditure and also make sure that steps to reduce inflationary rate and also exchange rate that is escalating. He made mention of all these things and also take another bolder step to work on discouraging importation of rice, importation of fruit juice, importation of cooking oils, and importation of poultry, and make sure that we encourage domestic as early as possible. And trust me, we are going to do that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for landing. So some interesting points from what you just said. As I listened to you, I also took stock of the fact that when he talks about our economy and the many problems we face, you notice, for example, that from minerals to the telcos, services basically, is in the hands of foreigners. So if we're going to address these issues, we also ought to look at some of these, because the tangential areas where our economy has its pillars are not even owned by us. I mean, well, now we can talk about, is it Airtel Tigo that now is in our hands? But that's a crucial area to look at. There's also, I interacted this morning with Kojo Poku, an energy analyst, who is actually going to gun for the flag bearership of your party, that is the MPP. And he says that the trades minister has failed, and all of these are knee-jerk reactions when it comes to import substitution and all of that. It's been 6 years, and there's practically nothing to show. So if we're talking about it now, rather than knee-jerk reactions, we should move beyond that. But I have a quick question for you, Dr. Amwa, before I come to Ricky Tegan and give him also enough time. So first of all, Kwabena Tewia Dakwa says, has there been a time, as you said, has there been a time in our history where there have been all of these? Kwabena Tewia Dakwa says, has there been a time in our history where we got money like we did in the COVID period? And you know about how much we got in the COVID period. Has there been a time, very quick reaction to that? I must be fair to you.
I can't come, you put me on hold when it comes to figures. But I can tell you that COVID period up to now, in terms of net gains, the country rather lost. If they don't understand. You only limit yourself to a figure, but not the obligations. And then the depressions we had in terms of our activities. Let me tell you, private sector sacked over 40,000 workers in our country, COVID time. In terms of payee, in terms of corporate taxes, we had revenue shortfalls of over 11 billion. So what happened that time, per the money we got, trust me, it was rather not what they think. It's not the figure itself. Okay. You can get 1 billion now, but the obligations that will be bestowed on you or you'll be confronted with will be said that somebody who got 1,000 cedis has luxury of time and resources and opportunities. So I'm telling them that the money we got and pay the obligations, okay, this is even a worse situation for Ghana. Okay. So they shouldn't only talk about COVID, we had money. They should talk about the fact that we had to stay home, we had to give free food, we had to do that. You were paid without not going to work. Private sector lost a lot of things. Importation, everything got so messed up. So you don't look at only the figure that we had. To end with this, go and read the PFM Act. I think is it 2016? Act, I think 181 Section 18, I've forgotten. It states 3 conditions. When there's war, when there's natural disaster, when there's health epidemic, even our fiscal rules and policies upon consultation, they should be suspended. Right. So the situation in which we are, if we were to do even the right thing, by going strictly to these rules, these issues about somebody spend that and that were not.
So you've given us clarity there.
One good thing is that lives were more important than even the economy. And Ghana is one of the best countries that we could reduce our mortality rate. That one, the people will not talk about.
All right, so
people will not talk about.
Let's get into this. You started talking about our currency and everything, and I'm going to give you ample time as well because you know I don't want.
Nami, did you give me time?
Disparity.
You took my time.
You've spent more than twice the time he spent.
But you took.
You've not even noted
that. You took about 2/3 of my time.
And say that
no, you took my time, boss.
So, Kweku, let's talk about the city. Because that's another area Mr. President spoke about. That, look, all of these actions, even talking down the city, is impacting our currency. When you look at the papers we have today, I'm looking at 2 of them. Economy Times says CD begins to recover. It's fallen to 13 CDs something. But you still go out there, because Kojo Poku even mentioned this morning, you still go out there and some people have prices that are much higher. You look at the banks as well, and the rates that some of them are giving it at, if you consider what the Bank of Ghana has pegged it at, there are distortions. There's also talk from the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry that our over-reliance on the monetary policy, hiking it up to fight inflation, is not working in terms of stabilizing the city. That's another angle. and then put that together with this. I'm just digesting this from the standpoint of the papers this morning. Minimum wage is what? 13 cedis, 53 pesos. But look at fuel prices. Diesel is almost 20 cedis. If you want fuel save super, in some places it is 17 plus, 15 plus, 16 plus. And it's the first time in our history that fuel prices have overtaken the minimum wage. How do you digest all of this?
Kafi, things are not going very well at all. This country is in crisis. And
this country is what?
It's in crisis.
The president said that.
The president admitted to that. But then this is something that we've been saying for a while. And then when you do so, they said you are talking down the country. You are creating problems, and that is why the currency is going down. We are in serious crisis. If you look at the league of all economic indicators, we are at the bottom of it. All of them.
Oh.
When you look at inflation, please.
Now, what is GDP today?
Please. Can you let me...
What is the policy?
Make your economic...
But you should also ask him.
He didn't heckle you.
No, but you should also, because you're not asking.
I should ask him questions when I couldn't ask you questions?
Because you are not
when I couldn't interject with you, but I should interject with him.
Oh my God, you are not being fair.
Those are double standards. I'm sorry.
No,
please go
but
ahead.
you are rather
brother, you are not
being very impartial.
You are
being very impartial.
If I'm being impartial, then I'm doing the right thing. Please go ahead.
Yeah. After you can give him all the time because they have no solutions. So he can speak as much as you want.
You have spent power more than any where you didn't have the solution.
If you look at the league of all economic indicators, this government is actually at the bottom of all of them. If you take inflation, we are at the bottom. If you take the currency, we are the worst performing currency. If you take our debt has gone beyond, sustainable level. If you take our interest rates, they are rising. There's nothing good about what is going on in this country at the moment. Yet, all the countries that we compare ourselves with also suffered COVID and Ukraine war. The latest I have heard, and I think is my brother Kojo or upon Nkrumah who said it yesterday, they are now also talking about
downsizing.
China, Taiwan, what is going on there, the geopolitics going on there. So I can see where the blame is going to be shifted very soon, into China, Taiwan, geopolitics. Now, they have no solution. They have no plan. They have no strategy in solving the challenges that we have at the moment.
So you're saying that all that the Bank of Ghana is doing and the central bank is part of government?
I'm coming to that.
You're talking about the cuts in salaries, the 30% cuts for the executive and all of that. It means nothing. Those are policies, right?
Right. Let me answer that. Inadequate policies, fantasies, wishful thinking is what this government has embarked on. And that is why we are not getting any result. The president's address 2 days ago was just a wishful thinking. Things that we know about, things that we've been talking about over the years. They've been in office for 6 years. I wouldn't say they've been in power because they've been in office but not in power. They are not in charge. They really don't have any clue what is going on. And that is why they don't have solutions. I told you earlier on when we started this conversation that this government, this president lacks policy credibility. The citizens have lost hope. There is no confidence in our government. The investors or creditors who lend money to us have no hope that we will be able to repay them. When you talk about these things, they want to gag you. They say you are talking the country down. Now, if I give an alternative economic view to what or how I see things, they said that you are anti-Ghanaian or you are not patriotic. They are not ready to listen to anyone. President Mahama gave an address a few days ago before the president, and he gave a number of solutions. I am glad again when I was listening to Honorable Kojo upon Nkrumah saying yesterday that he listened to President Mahama and Honorable Atufoson's presentation. I'm glad to hear that. I hope that in their quiet time, they will look at the things that President Mahama talked about, the solutions, the low-hanging fruits that this government can pick and try and bring relief.
Highlight some of those solutions
to the Ghanaians.
For those who didn't follow the conversation.
I'll come to that in a second. Let me deal with this and then again. Because the solutions, they don't listen. And then they will say, what are we going to do? We have said a number of things. Now, let's deal with this government before we come to what are our solutions. Because the problem, you did ask me, the currency issue has not been dealt with properly. And it is the biggest problem facing this country at the moment. Even when crude, the reason why we are in this high fuel prices and all that, they will say, as a result of Russia-Ukraine war, yes, let's admit to an extent, in addition to their own mismanagement. But the issue then becomes, crude prices were around over 100 or something. Now crude prices are coming down. When the oil price comes down, we still don't get any relief. And why? It is because of the currency. So when prices are going up, when crude prices are going up, oil prices at the pump are going up. But when they are coming down, you will expect, because the relationship is more or less directly proportional. Therefore, if it's going up and the pump is going up, you understand it. But when the crude is coming down, the pump is not going down. Because of this terrible situation that we are in with our currency being the worst performing currency around. And the solutions that the president talked about were all things that they are not doing. Now, let's take the Bank of Ghana issue that we were talking about. Because the government has basically given up on bringing any proper fiscal measures to address the problem, the Bank of Ghana on the monetary side will have to act. And so you can't fault the Bank of Ghana too much, but they are doing the work that should be done by government in addressing the fiscal challenges that is causing inflation to rise.
The Bank of Ghana is doing government work.
Yes, it's doing government work. It's using, Bank of Ghana is trying to use monetary policy to address a problem that is fiscal. And that is where we are today. The reason why is the Bank of Ghana increasing policy rate? Simply because the Bank of Ghana is trying to keep inflation in check.
Okay.
And it's not working.
Quick question on that. We've spoken about the inflationary rate and what the GNCCI is saying. But there's also this discourse. Professor Steve Hank, Johns Hopkins University, has brought it up. He's been lambasting Ghana for our economy. And recently I saw one of our professors also corroborate this. Do we need a currency board? In which instance we'll take away those powers from the central bank and give it to this currency board? It's a bit of an extreme option, but some countries operate on that system. Do we need that?
Well, at this stage, I don't want to talk about currency board and that here. We have a system, which is pretty much the system you have in many places, that are working for them. The central bank is supposed to be independent and is supposed to be dealing with financial stability and monetary policy. The government is supposed to handle the fiscal side of things, and the two of them should collaborate to manage this economy. At the moment, the economy on the fiscal side is on autopilot, while on the monetary side, the Bank of Ghana is trying to steer the Ghana's economy, but actually holding the wrong levers in the cockpit. So the wrong levers, that is the interest rate, the aggressive interest rate approach to addressing inflation, is itself creating a lot of problems, while the government sits and watch and do nothing. And they talk about fantasies, talking about increasing, what is it called? Let's come to the consolidation side. They want to increase revenue. Yes, we've all known that our revenue levels are low, 13% or whatever, when you compare to our peers that are doing 18, 20. Now, what are they going to do to actually prop up this revenue? Then he talks about property taxes. This one was said in the budget of November 2021 budget. From January to date, nothing has been done on that. In a crisis that we are in, property taxes is not your solution. These are long-term things that we need to do. We all understand that. And you did mention some. So there is a misalignment of the solutions being provided, which I say are wishful thinking, to the current problems that we have. Okay. It tells you clearly that the government does not understand the economic challenges that we have at the moment. And for that matter, they are giving us solutions that actually are not working.
Okay, so solutions not fit for purpose. I just want to add this. It is downsizing part of the solution? Because people have spoken about it, the number of ministers and deputies. I had KKD, Kwesi J. join me in the studio yesterday. He said all the deputies should be done away with. Now we've heard Kojo Ponkroma say that there is going to be some consideration of downsizing. He mentioned that. What is your take on it?
You did ask me what solutions Professor former President Mahama preferred.
I know he spoke about
and this is one of them. And you remember when I was speaking, I said low-hanging fruit. One of the low-hanging fruits is the ministers. Talking about this 30% cut and all that. Look, this government has actually not been able to cost anything. The reason why we are in this mess is that this government started with a lot of flagship programs that they could not cost. Look, anywhere in the world, any jurisdiction, before a policy issue is put across, they actually cost it. How much is it going to save us? Now, the question is, they have not been able to even tell us that the current 30% that they claim to be collecting from ministers and appointees, nobody has been able to tell us how much they intend to get. I don't even care what they want to use it for, but how much savings are we going to be making? Now, they're supposed to have done it for some months now. They can't even tell us how much they have collected.
Right.
They talk about discretionary expenditures being cut. How much have you been able to save the country? And even, I don't again care what you have used that money for, but you've made such savings. So this is one of the things that President Mahama was talking about. That look, if you cut, whether it's going to be some ministries are not necessary. They could merge some of the ministries. Some places with 2 or 3 deputy ministers, you have no idea what they are doing. You remember President when he came to office first, he said he needed that number of ministers. That time they were about 100 or so.
He said he was a man in a hurry and he needed the hands on deck.
We have found out that he was actually in a hurry, but in a hurry to nowhere. Where is the destination?
All right.
We have no idea. Then the other thing I want to...
So quickly on that.
Yes. I have talked about the debt issue, but to end on the debt issue, he tells us, at the moment we are being told that our debt is over 500 billion, okay? And then at the end of the year, debt to GDP is over 100, by 104. You come and tell us, which again is a wishful thinking, we all wish that is the case. For our debt to be sustainable, we are working towards bringing debt to GDP to 55%. Now, between 2022 and 2028 is a very long time. The gap in between, what exactly are you going to be doing for us to be able to achieve that? Are you going to do that using the fiscal measures in terms of cutting our expenditure as you increase our revenue? Because don't forget that our debt does not stand still. Every year as we accumulate deficit, our debt also goes up. So now, a solution you will need is to address the existing debt as much as also controlling the deficit that accumulates to become debt.
All right.
So, and finally on that one, we don't have anything about how this is going to be achieved. I'm hoping that the finance minister will come to read the budget and tell us exactly how that
definitely with those things, the details will have to come in the budget.
And you say you are not going to do a haircut, you are not going to do this. So are you achieving that through fiscal measures, or are you achieving that through debt restructuring?
That's an interesting question, and that's the very next angle I'll go to Dr. Amwa on. So, Dr. Amwa, I'm going to do it this way so that no one feels aggrieved. I'm giving you 4 minutes for these 2 questions. I'll come to him and give him the same time. Are we going to get a haircut or not?
So
is it a blanket
he has
statement?
more time, so he spoke first.
Dr. Amwa,
have you forgotten?
Please, let's do this. I'm
No,
moderating.
but I know.
So
but
let me just
don't say
this.
nobody can complain when you know the other person is not being given the same.
I am not an autocrat. You can definitely complain. But I'm saying that, first of all, are we getting a haircut or not? What would it look like? And secondly, okay, you answer
the president said we are not getting a haircut. So I think it answers.
I'm only asking because economic watchers have said that the way things are going, there's no way we cannot get a haircut. So we
the
should
president
just
came and spoke, and he said that there's not going to be any haircut. So I think I'll take the president's statement. It's more serious than any other external stakeholder.
Are you aware that Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah has said that the president's statement is not a blanket statement on the haircut?
I haven't heard that.
Okay.
Thank you. Boss, I think I want to address 2 issues this morning. One, very professional way. The second one, the misconception and the incorrect statement my brother made, that everything is at the bottom. In fact, post-COVID inflation rate increase. Togo, we've had 16%. Senegal, we have 11%. Cote d'Ivoire, we have 7%. Ghana, we have 5%. So he should go and do his work very well. Globally, we've had averagely 300%. UK, we have about 400%. US, we have almost 400%. I don't want to even do country to country because he did that. And 2, the thing he said, former President Mahama said, that we should cut down expenditure, we should downsize. Is it what you're talking about? This thing that everybody's lip is on it. A year after year, even before this crisis, before COVID, is that what we had to get from the former president with all the experience if he's bringing something new on board?
But
please, don't go there.
Quick add-on.
Coming
Everybody
back to,
is saying it and it's not being done. Can't you re-echo it?
Who told you it's not being done?
No.
The
downsizing of
but what we
example.
took over, then you should even want to do politics. What we took over.
What is politics? It's a question.
No, I'm talking about general. Please, why is it that I'm the one engaging that way? What I'm saying is that if we want to go this way, then that is where we do the comparisons. Then when you do, they say, oh, we are not interested in that. We took over a country that we're not having COVID. We're not having Russian war. Prices of goods and services on the world market was below 2%. Now it's about 10%. What was the inflation they left us? What was the GDP growth? Government even interest rate was higher than lending rate that time. It was about 25.5. So don't even go in there. They have no even thing to talk about it because they are the poorest managers of the economy all time. And it's a fact. The facts are there. But let me come back to this issue. Bank of Ghana, on your own platform here, I spoke a couple of times. When the NDC brothers were there, I spoke on TV3 about 3 different times that the application of the monetary policy tool, we must review it as a country. When you want to use monetary policy tool to deal with inflation, he knows what I'm talking about. First, you need to analyze the causes of inflation first. Whether it is cost push or it is demand pull. If it is cost push, you don't necessarily increase policy rate because you aggravate the problem. In financial economics or strategic money, you call something strategic drift. That sometimes the very solution you are proposing will rather aggravate the problem because Ghana's economy predominantly is not by equity financing, debt financing. So interest rate is very key.
So in other words, you agree with the GNCC?
Yes, I think
you agree with them?
Yes, what I heard Bank of Ghana saying is that they wanted to target exchange rate on news file when I encountered them. The exchange rate is not working. Now I heard that they think if they hadn't done that, the situation would have been worse, which is also possible. But if we take those steps like 3-4 times, and the very target areas are worsening, at least you either stay there or you come back. So I think monetary policy should be adjusted upwards when the cause of inflationary rate is demand pull, circulation of money. People are buying, there's happiness. Then you do that to withdraw money. But when it is from supplier's end, you don't increase another cost variable which comes from the supply source. So I think I agree with them.
So the Bank of Ghana, in a way, is getting it wrong. It's tackling the problem from the wrong side.
Bank of Ghana's hands are tight now. because the situation is very complex. It's not the way people are doing politics with it. I'm being honest with you. Because if maybe they have also not done that, what would have been the situation? But if I were...
That's the same thing he suggests. He suggests that things that should have been done by government are not being done. And
no,
so now the central... No, you're not getting me. Now the central bank has had to come in to do government work.
No, what he says is wrong. Ghana government does not control and calibrate monetary policy. He doesn't... Maybe he knows because he's a very good guy, but because maybe politics.
Obviously, the central bank does that.
Central bank, so you can say it's government, right? But where I disagree with the Central Bank of Ghana is that the very parameters you are taking this decision to resolve, to mitigate their impact, they keep on worsening. The same thing happened with them. When they started increasing policy rate, I argue with them, and it was going up. And it went to 25.5, and inflation went up to 15.4 from a single digit. So we need to look at that as a country. But if he says we are not doing anything about it, I am very much surprised because this government had a cut in its expenditure. You remember about 20%. And now we are doing about 30%. But the question is whether that is enough to mitigate what is happening. It is gradual. It is process. And I can assure Ghanaians, with the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and our economic management team led by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the same people were doing 7% annually for 3-4 years. They were doing 7.4 inflationary rate for a long time. They had reduced interest rate from almost 40% to 20%. They had reduced policy rate from 25.5 to about 12.5. Reserve had been increased from 5.8 to 7.4 to 4.3 months. He knows. And something came in. But I can assure Ghanaians that we are praying that this global crisis will really go down and the same government that has been doing all this will restore our economy and put hope and smile. But now we agree that there's hardship, they are right to complain, and just as the president did, we are illustrating empathy. And you saw in the whole speech setup of the president.
Thank you for those.
Ghana government today shares the pain all of us are going in, and that is a fact.
Let me quickly do this. I have a follow-up question for you, but let me also bring in Guta. There have been meetings in recent days with the AGI, the Association of Ghana Industries, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, and also the importers and exporters. Well, one of them, Guta, from all that they've said so far, they feel disappointed that Mr. President in his address on Sunday didn't address some of their core issues. Let me bring in president of that group, Dr. Joseph Obeng. Dr. Obeng, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
It's a pleasure having you on the show. Now, I know you've probably followed what has been happening in the studio and all the talk, industry and all that. I'd just like to find out from you. First off, quick takeaways in about 30 seconds. What Mr. President said, how did it hit you? Was it positive? That is on Sunday. And moving forward, what are some of the things that can be done to address your issues? Because the CD is still where it is. It may have appreciated a bit against the American greenback and a few other currencies. But what picture do you still have? You recently had to shut down your shops. Paint a picture for us.
First of all, I'm very happy that the exercise that we undertook by closing our shops have provoked national discourse, public discourse, to the extent that the first gentleman of the state has also responded very quickly, meeting all stakeholders and all of us also preferring some workable solutions. And he himself admits that his encounter with us have been very encouraging. What President did on Sunday inspires a lot of hope. I don't know where you get your information that we did not, we are disappointed with what he did.
I've just forgotten his name. I listened to him on 99.7, and that was exactly what he said, that there were no concrete... Dr. Amwa, please allow me to do this because someone did say those things. So the face making in the studio is not helpful.
Yeah.
Dr. Obeng, so that is the point I'm making. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. But we are very much impressed because, you know, the reason why we closed down our shops was to provoke national discourse and also to give a pinch to the government that there's sense of urgency in the problem that we're encountering. And so for the president to have come and articulate his policy guidelines is quite inspiring, and it actually inspires hope. The fact that he actually said that there's fresh injection of funds into the system have also helped in bringing down the exchange rate. And it's very encouraging, and we support it. With the medium term and the long term regarding of trade diversification, those things came from our very selves, that we want to even divert into other areas like export and all that. So for us to venture into other areas like exports and the manufacturing and all that, being sufficient, self-sufficient, to the extent that we do not bring everything from abroad, is quite in line with our own policy of income in, income out, because we want to sell goods outside and then also bring the proceeds of our sales to bring the goods so that we shore up the forest. So with regards to the forest bureaus being streamlined, it's also very much in tune with some of our recommendations, that we have noticed that there's a cartel being formed in the black marketeering, and that the government should clamp down on those black market area. And that's exactly what he's also trying to do. But what we do not agree is where they said that prices are going up, and it's because of the some attitude of the traders. That one, I cannot agree with it, because government's own commitment is not showing, because they promised us to peg the dollar for the purposes of clearance of goods. And having given us this assurance, they have not been able to implement it as of now that I'm speaking. And if the dollar rate keep changing by customs, that means that prices will be going up. As I'm speaking, benchmark values have been increased to over 60%. And then if you increase this by way of policy or tax policies, and then you expect prices to go down, no. Because we are not for the Christmas. We benchmark our prices with all these things. The exchange rate, we benchmark with this, and then the cost. Let me talk about VAT. It used to be 3%, and now VAT have moved from 3% to standard rate of 19.25, an increment of 16%. So this accumulation of cost is what we see in the market, and not that people deliberately overprice themselves in the market. It's not even possible at this time of competition for anybody to overprice.
So when the president says he hesitates to call you names, and then he makes mention of the fact, like we see banner headline of the Daily Guide today, that he is warning traders on greedy profits. Greedy profits. You disagree with him?
I disagree totally, because government's own commitment, where is it? They've given us the assurance that they are going to peg the dollar for the purposes of duty payment. At this time that we have a seeming crisis on our hand, that the exchange rate is going up, what government can do and do best is to peg the dollar for the purposes of clearance of goods, so that the duty payment will be stabilized, at least in all this. And they don't have the commitment to do this, even though they have actually promised. When the Kumasi, our affiliates in Kumasi, close down their shops, and then we try to find solutions. And so government's own commitment in this regard is very paramount, and it should not be said that traders are greedy. In fact, this is one of the major reasons that we close down our shops, just to communicate to the consuming public that we are not the cause of price hikes.
Okay.
We've been there before.
Right.
When, governments have called us recalcitrant traders, profiteering traders, Kalibule, and all that. We are not going to sit down for those descriptions to be lumped on us. It's dangerous. It means that the public is being incited against us.
So you fundamentally disagree with Mr. President on that point?
Yes. But all other things, I totally agree with you.
Let me ask you.
The fact that we have to go along and then consume made in Ghana goods. In fact, if you have self-sufficiency in all these goods, there's no sense for any trader to travel outside and find foreign exchange, come and pay duty and all that. So whatever that we can do to ensure productivity locally, and so that we have this self-sufficiency, so that we can patronize our own goods, is very much welcomed. And then we can also take some of these goods and export. That's the only surest way forward.
All right.
To industrialize our
question.
economy.
Quick question on import substitution. We've heard the CEO of the Private Enterprises Federation talk about imposing import licensing on the back of what Mr. President said. How feasible is it? You, Guta, you do a lot of importation. You are practically importing everything. How feasible is it for some of those productive areas of our economy when Mr. President says we should have homegrown solutions? What do you think of that?
Yeah, what I've said is that we say we do excessive importation. That is correct. We do excessive importation, but we have a solution to this. We have to use the investment laws, because the local stake in this excessive importation is negligible, about 15 to 20%. The rest is coming from those foreigners who have the bulk of the money, the China malls and all that, who are dumping the goods and taking the goods left and right. And that we should use our investment law to control this. But when we say that our problem is structural, and the fact that excessive importation is key to this, let's not also close our eyes on the service sector that is taking a chunk of resources from this country, where the Ghanaian share is very negligible. We don't have a stake in the service industry, communication, banking. Where is our stake? And all this turns up a huge profit, and it being repatriated home to their home countries. So much as we are talking about importation, let's not forget that the huge or the bulk of the problem come from this service sector, where they do not turn into productivity in itself, and that they take the chunk of our resources through these services and send their this in a hole. So we have to use our investment law to drive the foreign direct investment to more preferred area of manufacturing and then agriculture, the industrialization in general, rather than these easy areas, which also turns the bulk of the resources and they take it, the extractive industry. What is our stake in the extractive industry? So we say that we should use the investment law so that we can have retention policy. So that,
Dr. Obing, hold for me. I know I'll give you some 40 seconds to give your final thoughts, because you are re-echoing things you've said already. But I'm only going to let you hold because Dr. Amwa has a quick reaction to something you said. I want him to come in so that in case you have a reaction, you can just wrap up with that. So Dr. Amwa, quickly.
It's not what he said. What the president said about sort of profiteering culture we have, that he is also showing so much concern. I think I said this, and I want to emphasize, because your platform is so big. We need to quickly do mixed market economy instead of free market economy.
Right.
That will solve the problem now. There are areas you can allow free market to compete and will control prices. And we have oligopoly, monopoly, cartel. We can use price caps. Even the developed economies, they do that. So I'm telling my own people and then the market to come together and find a way of making sure
the MPP and the traders.
Yes.
Right.
And so that where there's cartel or oligopoly or monopoly, we should accept price range or cap, not restricting prices, so that we deal away with that absolute.
So you're not talking price regulation per se. That's not what you're saying.
Not at all. Okay. But where people have undue advantage in the system to exercise profiteering, that will affect us, such as oligopoly. Only two people or two companies have access to goods and certain defined goods and services, or one person, which is monopoly or cartel, a few people. That one, we should step in and come out with price range or caps. It's done everywhere. Right. And the last one is, I agree with him, but I don't have all the information. So quickly, Ghana authority, who is in charge of duties and other things, should come and let us know. Why are we charging them in dollars? I'm not saying it's wrong or right because I don't have information. If somebody sent things from Ghana to UK, I don't think they pay duty in cities.
Right.
So we should find out and then iron out these things and define the common grounds.
So Dr. Obeng, you have some 40 seconds. Final thoughts, and then we shall say goodbye.
Okay. So thank you, Speaker, for that. You know that the market, the competition out there in the market does not make it possible for somebody to overprice himself out of the market. And we'll be very happy. We will be very happy to sit down with government to put the line of cost accumulation from import to duty payment, the about 19 item lines at the port that we pay. And when we do this calculation, maybe they will run away and then leave us behind, because in that case they will see how we are suffering in terms of taxes and then the cost that is being lumped on us. So let them come on board, because we support our customers, and it is the reason why we lock down our shops, and we are not wicked and we are not self-centered. We told the customers that we are not the cause of the price hikes. Then pegging the dollar is now becoming like a rocket science, where you have given your own word that you are going to peg the dollar for 3 months. We are unable to do that, and you are expecting prices to come down, where you have increased benchmark values to about 60%. Then you are expecting. So government uncommitted is also needed here. Matters we also have to do our best to satisfy the consuming public.
All right. Yeah. So you have a role to play, and you're saying government's commitment is also needed. Dr. Joseph Obeng, thank you so much for joining us this morning. He is president of GUTA, the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Let me come back into the studio. Now, Kweku, there is this situation that we have to deal with, because the economy is one of those issues that, whether we are talking the politics or we are talking about bread and butter matters, is on the minds of everybody. Yeah. The latest Afrobarometer survey reveals that 87% of Ghanaians say the country is headed in the wrong direction. And the economy is part of that. While only 11.5% of respondents answered that they believed the country was heading in the right direction. That is the first point. On the back of that, what do you think we should be seeing in the next few weeks and months as far as our economy is concerned? Because this definitely is not positive news.
The economy is heading in the wrong direction. And the statement you just read in the finder basically just confirms it. What needs to happen, first and foremost, is for our government to restore its own credibility. As I said earlier, nobody believes in this government, and nobody believes in the president when he says things, whether to do with policy or any, some of the statements that he makes. Now, why should anybody believe the president? For instance, that there will be no haircut. When the same president and the same government says that we will not go to IMF, we are a proud nation, all the things they said about IMF, in the end, they ended up there. The issue is not about going to the IMF. The issue is about shooting yourself in the foot before you enter the room. And the president saying that there will not be a haircut does not mean there wouldn't be, because nobody believes the president on that. The other thing is that you don't preempt negotiations before they even happen. There was no need for the president to come on and say, he was ill-advised to say that there will be a no haircut, to stop people who were speculating that there's going to be a haircut. There was a better way to do that. Another thing I want to touch on, and these are that, you talk about bread and butter issues. Currency, number one, is causing a lot of problems that we are facing today. Fuel prices is another one. We talked about, the crude and all that. What government is not doing is the government, from the very onset, when we started having this problem, some of us were even asking the government to use the windfall on the other side to support. They didn't do that. They left things. Now the president is telling us something which I find quite interesting, that they are negotiating or they are talking to people in terms of how they can negotiate a much cheaper, I don't know.
Yeah. So for the crude oil.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the question is, I'm not really quite sure what he's talking about. Is he talking about crude oil or he's talking about finished product?
That's another question. Because this morning I interacted with Kojo Poku again, an energy analyst, and he was also not too clear about what exactly it would mean and where we would even get that from.
What we have done in the past, because crude, basically, when you're talking about crude, you are thinking about a country. If you want to get crude, you can get it from Nigeria, Venezuela, wherever you can get it from. We have done this in the past. I believe it happened in Rawlings' time when Kufuor was actually involved. Rawlings asked Kufuor and others to go and negotiate for us to get, crude from Nigeria. Kufuor himself, I believe, also did that. And then, we do this kind of things to be able to get crude. Now, the question is, the problem we have at the moment is that Ghana is an oil-producing nation. We have joined the ranks of oil-producing nation. We don't basically add any value to the oil. We sell it. We have TOR that is not functioning. Is it possible that we can actually get TOR on its feet so that part of the crude that we send out can actually be processed here so we can consume it as a finished product? It will definitely be cheaper than for the president to go and negotiate somewhere to get us a crude that I don't know where they're going to refine it from. Okay, if the president is talking about refined product are found in countries that even don't produce oil. These are commercial issues. It is not like crude where you say Nigeria has oil or this country has. Refined product, you can get it anywhere, even where they don't produce oil. It's a commercial, entirely commercial. We have deregulated. In the past, it's the government that goes and brings all these things. Now we have the BDCs doing that. And then they bring it, pass it on to the OMCs, and then what is the government going to do? They still say that they're going to stick with the deregulation. So now is the government going to take the business out of the hands of the BDCs and then go and bring the finished product? Because I don't know if the BDCs are in part of this negotiation that is going on with whoever is going to supply us this cheap, finished product or whatever. So there is no clarity in what the president and this government is saying. It creates more uncertainty. If you want to know what brings speculation, speculation comes as a result of not having clarity, of not being certain, that your policies are not watertight. For that reason, people are able to speculate. If your policies are watertight, there wouldn't be any room for anybody to speculate. So if you want to know who is talking the economy down, it is actually the government itself. As a result of lack of clarity and uncertainty, is talking the economy down, not other people who are standing somewhere else, speculating.
Right. So
and they have the right to.
I will. You would have to hold your horses there. I know we have another guest on the line, but I just wanted to. So you're saying that basically government, through its own actions and inactions, is the one talking the currency down, not all of these other factors. Because the black market and all of that.
When you don't have the black market and all that come as a result of not having clarity, if you leave room and you are not dealing with the currency problems, the black market is just a natural thing that will come out of that.
Right.
If you are not dealing with your debt, then certain things that we are facing comes as a result of that.
Okay.
If you are not dealing with the fiscal things that you need to, and we said this earlier on, when we talk about Bank of Ghana's responsibility is monetary. We know that. We know financial stability and all that. But why are we getting inflation? You can talk about Russia-Ukraine war and all that. It's because the government is failing to deal with, he rightly said, the inflation we are experiencing started from cost and supply side. It wasn't a demand-driven inflation. Therefore, the natural tools or the natural levers that Bank of Ghana usually will use to address that problem, doesn't come in here. But the government is not using the fiscal levers or the fiscal tools that it has to deal with the problem. Therefore, the problem then becomes inflationary.
Okay.
And for that matter, Bank of Ghana will have to come in to mop up a mess that should have been cleared by the fiscal side.
Thank you. Let me bring in two industry people who join the conversation. We have Samson Asaki Awengobet, who joins the conversation, just as Dr. Joseph Obeng did. We also have Seth Chum Akwabwa, who is CEO, Association of Ghana Industries. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning. All right. So now we're talking industry. We're talking about the economy, but industry, because all of you, we just had an interaction with Dr. Joseph Obeng of GUTA, the AGI, exporters and importers. You're all engaging, Mr. President, on what the way forward is for our economy. And you are the drivers of our economy. So let me start with you, Samson Asaki Awengobet. I'd like to find out, on the back of what Mr. President said on Sunday, his address on the economy, and your engagement so far, how hopeful are you? Dr. Obeng says he is hopeful, but he has his own grievances. How about you, as far as imports and exports are concerned?
Well, thank you very much. And let me say a very big good morning to my colleague and brother at AGI, Mr. Akwaba there, and then the two honorable members in your studio there, and to my senior brother and senior comrade, Dr. Joseph Obeng as well, and your viewers. I must say that we all listened to the president on Sunday, and if you ask me my candid opinion, I will say, so let me limit it to my industry, isn't it? So that we can discuss it dispassionately. President made mention of certain commodities that there's a need for his government to take a keenly look at it. And he's talking about giving timelines from now till May next year. I don't know whether a review is to ban or review is to cut off the volumes of imports into the country until they give us the nitty-gritty of it. However, where I sit, I strongly believe that currently as it is better that there is food in town, but people can't buy, than to say we will go and take a decision, and tomorrow the people will be carrying money and have no food to buy, which the government would buy or will not be sending us. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that the government will not be able to send us back to 83 again. That's not what we are talking about. Because quite clearly, if you look at the statistics, rice imported into this country, what's the percentage of per ton that is being brought into this country? It's ringing out between 700,000 to 800,000 metric tons per year. Is that not it? And these are all consumed in the country. Now, we are all aware that our Ghanaian rice producers have a challenge, and that challenge that they are having at the end of the day is because of they are paying or they are financing full cost of it, and the government is doing virtually nothing to leverage their situation. And cost of borrowing in this country is so high. In 2020, 2021, the farming season, government subsidized for farmers with fertilizer input 50% in 2020. In 2021, it was 30%. In this year farming season, the government subsidized only 15%. And that is why we have all the Peasant Farmers Association and other farmers, bodies, and organizations, including poultry producers, are all complaining about the cost of production. And I'm quite sure that if you go to my brother, Mr. Chum, he will tell you that their membership are also struggling with the cost of production in this country. Now, what we even produce here, let's take one by one. Rice. What is the metric tons that Ghanaian rice producers have? We are bringing in 700,000 to 800,000 metric tons. Do we have up to 500,000 metric tons or 600,000 metric tons? Yes, if we have 500,000 or 600,000 metric tons of rice in Ghanaian market, being Ghanaian rice, local rice being produced in this country, then I support the government to say, okay. No.
Hello? Hello, Samson? We appear to be losing Samson Asake Awengobet. Let me bring in Seth Chum Akwabwa, who is CEO Association of Ghana Industries. So quite a number of points made by Samson. But for you, what are your takeaways from the president's address? And how hopeful are you about our economy bouncing back, moving forward for the AGI?
Well, thank you very much. And let me also greet your panelists and your viewers. The point is that when it comes to the issue of hope, I always say that the last thing we should do as a nation and as a people is to give up hope. So we should be hopeful. And we've had His Excellency the President speaking to us. And I think that we should be hopeful of what he says, and let's see how we support him to deliver. Because when we're going through these challenges, it affects all of us. And therefore, we have a responsibility to work with him and make sure that we succeed. So we are hopeful of what he has promised to do, except that the rhetoric is not enough. We need to move into action. And I believe that is what we should be talking about. And then the question of the issues discussed with us, my take. I think first of all, he talking to us was good because we needed His Excellency the President to speak to us like he did during the COVID period, to speak, to bring hope to the people. At some point, I believe that part of the reason why we were having this fast depreciation of the cedi was because there was a lot of speculation. People were uncertain about the development. So people who do not even need foreign currency or dollar would go and buy and hide behind their under their pillows because they want to preserve their wealth. Now, if you take out that speculation element, even though we know that the city is depreciating, it shouldn't be depreciating this fast. So that is one fact. So speaking to us for us was very important and giving us hope that they are, and giving us an idea of the effort that is being made to resolve the issues. It was very important. Before he speaking to us, remember he met AGI and other stakeholders. And indeed, when we met, we spoke about some of these challenges. And I'm happy he's acknowledging that we are in difficult times and industries and businesses are really complaining. So these are indeed challenging times. On the content, the key thing that from industry side I will pick is the issue of local production being enhanced and in order to reduce imports. Now, this is not new to us. You know, as for AGI, that has been our number one advocate all this while, that we need to step up our local production, put in every effort to support local producers and reduce the imports, because the import volumes is so high that it is also putting a lot of pressure on our local currency. We know there are certain things there's nothing we can do, we have to import. But for essential products and products that we have local capacity, we should be able to enhance the capacity.
Like which ones and how quickly can we get there? Like which ones and how quickly can we get there? Is it rice? What is it?
Yes, President mentioned a couple of products, and there's a lot more we can add. As a matter of fact, AGI, yesterday we met. We are already doing a listing of the products. But the few ones that he mentioned, like the rice, like the sugars, like the oils, these are basic, the fruit drinks that we take so much of imports into the country, whilst we can produce them locally. So there are so many products that we can do, essential things that are critical for our survival. We should be self-sufficient. We should be self-dependent. When COVID happened, you remember at some point when the countries were locking up their doors, we all got scared because we import so much. And if you don't have the inflows coming, it becomes a problem. So what we should be doing and how fast, the question of how fast. I mean, this question has come up all the time, that do we have local capacity? Do we have local capacity? The point is that you cannot build local capacity overnight. And the fact that you may not have 100% capacity today does not mean you should not start at all. Otherwise, you will never also start. So you need to create conditions to create demand for the local products. And then the businesses will step up to the plate and raise their production volumes to meet the demand.
So quick question. The Association of Ghana Industries.
So how fast?
The AGI, your membership, are you ready to take up the challenge? Are you ready? If government, if the market, gives us that space, are you ready to meet the demand? Are you putting yourself in pole position?
Very much so. Very much so. I mean, our people are business people. Every businessman who invests, your aim is to get return on your investment. If there's an opportunity to expand and get more returns, you will do so. So as for the readiness, they are ready. But the readiness boils down to a couple of things. It's not you as an individual enterprise being ready. It also depends a lot on the system. So, for example, you are ready to expand, but if you go to a bank and you are not getting access to medium to long-term facility, your readiness is nothing. You need to have those facilities available. If you are borrowing at 30% and 35% and 25%, how can you do long-term investment? So the readiness is not only dependent on the individual entrepreneur, it also depends on the system. If electricity cost is so high, even if you are ready, you are being competed out because others are having cheaper sources of electricity. So all this comes into play. For the readiness, the companies are ready because they are business people. They want to cash in, they want to make business. I think what is important is that we appreciate the fact that overnight you cannot increase capacity by 100%. It doesn't happen anywhere. Even the rice we're talking about, and we mentioned some of the products. You cannot, the next month, have all the rice you want because you need to grow the rice before you can mill. And in growing it, it takes a bit of time. You need to get the resources, you need to get the farms prepared and produce an order. So you cannot overnight change the dynamics. That's why you have to start planning now, so that in the next year, 2 years, you start seeing gradual improvement, and then you can cash in and then become self-sufficient in a lot of the products that we are talking about.
Mr. Akakpo, just in some 30 seconds then, we see the cedi appreciating against the dollar, for example. How positive has that impact been, at least in the last day or two, for your members in terms of the work you do? And what then is the way forward, especially as you're engaging the presidency on some of these matters? In some 30, 40 seconds.
Yes, I think that the slight improvement we've seen is good. First of all, what we are aiming at now is to have stability. We know growth will take a while to come about, but stability is key at this stage. And then it's when you have a bit of stability, it takes out the speculative element. So any adjustment or increase is actually real increase, which means you have to work at it and then meet those conditions. So a bit of stability is important. Engaging government, we are looking at what we can do to continuously have this stability and then gradually work towards reducing the imports, as we've said. And already, AGI, as I said, we've already met. We are looking at a list of products. We have to be engaging government and say, for these products, we have these companies with this level of capacity. These are their requirements or their needs in order to increase the volume that they produce. When we do so, what do we do to also reduce the imports? And then when it comes to currency, even rationing or whatever, I know we operate a free market system, but Bank of Ghana can intervene and give the foreign currency to specific companies who are importing essential products that are raw material inclined and products that are of necessity. When we do all that, then it means we are actually managing the system. And I'm sure with that, we should see some light at the end of the day. I believe we shouldn't give up hope. We should work hard and work strategically. And we should bring things to normalcy in the near future.
Mr. Akakpo, thank you very much. Seth Chum Akakpo is CEO, Association of Ghana Industries. I'm coming back into the studio now to wrap with my guests who are here seated. Member of Parliament for Ishiaso, also on the Finance Committee of Parliament, Dr. Stephen Amwa. We also have Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South, who also is a former Deputy Finance Minister, Kweku Ricketts-Hagan. Both of them are in the studio. I want us to look at a number of issues, so I'll give you 2.5 minutes each. First of all, we've heard Ken Ofori-Atta tell us that the budget reading is going to take place at around November 15. We are in the month of November. The month has started. We're still deliberating an IMF package. What is the way forward, and what will be the role of Parliament in resolving this situation? For you, when I come to you, Dr. Amwa, I would also like to add, you were not one of those ministers and members of Parliament who pushed for
this. How did you know? Do you have the list?
Ken Ofori-Atta, well,
do you have the list?
You said something to me in private, so at least I can hold on to that. If not, then I'll ask you then as a question. No, then I'll ask you then as a question. No, were you one of those who felt that the position of the finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta is no longer tenable, and so you joined the 80? If not, why? You can give me your thoughts.
Why this question
on that? It's a question. You can choose to answer it or not.
If you say no, what you are doing is so unethical. Because if you say that, I said something. What I said, I will put it in the public domain.
Sure.
My position has been that, one, we have resolved going forward with the president. Okay, but I think if we say that Ofori-Atta should go, people who do politics with it that, okay, then you people have accepted that you haven't worked the economy, you have failed. That is why I have a different position on that.
So the question isn't even about this. It's just about, do you think Ken Ofori-Atta should stay? And I don't know why you...
But we said a lot of things that I think we are discussing. And everybody knows in this country today, the MPs, we all met the president. We agreed that at least we should wait for IMF and then the budget should be dealt with because they are very pressing issue now. So we have resolved not to even speak to these issues. But if we don't take care, we will do something that the public will come back at us and say, I even told you that, oh, if you people had done well economically, why did you sack your finance minister? That was my position. But if you come and you say in private, I said something.
Dr. Amwa, point made. Kweku Ricketts.
So is that all that you asked me for? All the things we said.
I'll come back to you. The budget reading is on November.
I think you were being mischievous.
What is?
Because I didn't say anything bad.
What is your take on that? What can we expect? And the other issues I've put to you.
Well, there were some vague statements, as we alluded earlier, made by the president. And I would expect the finance minister to come and put some meat on the bone. What the president said, some of them we've talked about, you know, how are we going to move from 105% to, 55% in 2028? I mean, they wouldn't be around to, not being government, not around to, you know, see to this. And then also this haircut issue. You know, what exactly do they mean by that? Because they haven't even started the negotiations in terms of, you know, with the creditors as to what form of restructuring they are going to end up agreeing. You know, there are two levels of agreement here. After doing the IMF negotiations or the IMF agreement, you would then, after staff level, you know, agreement, you will then have to come and engage the creditors. That stage hasn't happened yet. That itself is negotiation. So if you come and make a, you know, preempt some of the things that may or may not happen, that is, you know, problematic. We also want the finance minister to come and actually tell us exactly, because whatever is going to be presented in this budget, presumably would have been things that they have discussed, you know, with the fund. And the fund, don't forget, will be watching the type of budget that the finance minister put forward to see whether the discussions that they've had is actually in any way or form reflected in that type of budget.
Okay.
So hopefully, you know, some of the unanswered questions, and then again, we'll forgive the president for not being the one to provide the technical details, and therefore he can get away.
I mean, there's talk of the mega 12-point plan, for example. We'll want some more details on that. And
yes, absolutely.
Hopefully, definitely, the budget would be able
because, as I said, some of them are not, you know, are not going to yield anything. But we'll leave that to the finance minister to come and present the budget, and then we see what. But the problem at the moment.
So we have to wrap up.
Credibility is the issue that the government has at the moment, and until that credibility issue is addressed, hopefully that is what the fund will give them, you know, credibility. They should guard this credibility and stop making statements that really doesn't hold water.
Okay.
The finance minister and his other colleague, I don't know when his colleagues went to see the president and told them they should keep these guys. I don't even understand why they are still there. They have become part of the problem. They are ill-advising the president to save their own skin. And the president is coming out talking economics that he has not been properly briefed.
Dr. Amwa, so on the budget reading and the other points that you have to make, which I am not privy to, so I would like you to add.
I'm done.
Just
I'm
give
down
you.
with my stay. I'm not talking again.
You're what?
I'm okay. I'm done.
Okay. Well, on that note, I would like to thank you, gentlemen, Dr. Stephen Amwa, Member of Parliament for Nshia, so also on the Finance Committee of Parliament, and Kweku Ricketts Hagan, Member of Parliament, Cape Coast South, a former Deputy Finance Minister. Well, Well, coming up next, in our Living Standard series today, we tell you how some mothers are adjusting the menu ahead of Christmas festivities to accommodate their diminishing incomes. All of that right now.
Because me boyfriend into me money bedi benkusa. Emo me tono me fa nse bottle ba kono. Ni half no me tono 2.3. Ebi wo first grab me tono 1.8. Say someone na me tono 1.8. Say you 450. Why? Aden. I can't see a joyous Christmas coming at all.
Bernice, a mother of 6, is dazed by the raising prices of groceries at the Makala market. She came from Pokwase to get some items for her home, but realized her budget of 1,000 cedis could only buy a few items off her list. She's upset and vents her frustration. I got closer so I could listen to her.
Double. And yeah,
the prices are now double. It is not good. Where is the kaya? Bring the items. I came with 1,000 cedis, but I've only bought tomatoes. Pepsodent. This Pepsodent was 8 cedis last week. Now it is 16 cedis. Why? Tomatoes used to be 20 cedis, but now it is 60 cedis.
Sister Ghana. And those are showing 20 cedis new way and then 60 cedis.
The mother of 6 had to get cooking oil, but her preferred size was unavailable. Her gloomy mood worsened. According to her, the oil vendor said the price of the next consignment has already been increased even before it arrives in the shop. So Bernice will have to increase her cooking oil budget on her next market trip.
When was the last time I was at market?
Last week,
Last week, I was here to get rice and oil. The sachet oil was 22 cedis. But today, she tells me it is now 45 cedis. Look at what is remaining of the 1,000 cedis I came with. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need oil. I hope it will be sufficient. Otherwise, I will go home.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Christmas is about 8 weeks away, but Bernice says Banku may replace the usual rice meals if the prices on the market do not fall.
Now, rice is expensive, so I am very angry. As for this Christmas, unless Akufo-Addo and Baumia do something about the prices, we will eat banku and pepper until things get better.
Wow.
I bumped into Mabel Mensah, a 46-year-old single mother who is at her wit's end. She was yelling at the traders to cut down their prices. Mabel is also a trader and so understands that fuel and the depreciation of the cedi have forced prices to rise. But she believes traders are taking advantage of the current economic woes. She explained that her budget for her groceries had tripled, especially oil and rice.
I used to buy a small bottle of oil for 70 Ghana cedis, but now it is 270 Ghana cedis. What the shop owners are doing is not good. Even if it is the dollar, you cannot increase the price over 200 Ghana cedis. Why?
250 cedis.
Well, this year, food inflation is up by close to threefolds from 13.7% at the beginning of the year to 37.8% in September, mainly because Ghana's economy is import-driven. The Makala market is no exception. Both imported and local products have been bitten by the inflation bag. But is it the case that traders may be modifying the prices? Cooking oil trader Irene lays the blame squarely at the doors of importers.
The consumer thinks we are the cause. No. It is not we who are selling. Who
should we blame then?
I buy from an importer. Okay. So the importer brings me price. I can't sell below the importer's price. It means that I'm not in business. Right now, we are selling to replace stock, not to make profit.
Okay.
You understand? We are selling to replace stock, not to make profit. It's a big challenge and pathetic because you don't know what the future holds for us at all. I can't see a joyous Christmas coming at all unless something is done.
Her colleague Victoria claims she hadn't increased her prices for a month because of her customers. But then the prices keep soaring. Victoria quotes her prices to us.
But 4 months ago, na anwa gallon no. 450. Say no. 10 gallon we no.
Wait. 950. 950.
The gallon of oil now costs 950. This was 220. But now 400. We are told it's the dollar. Everyone says dollar. Tomatoes is dollar. Okro is dollar. Kontomire is dollar. They need to fix it.
And those say dollar. Meko say dollar. Jene say dollar. And Kruma say dollar. Kontomire po say dollar. Into omunche say dollar no. Na amani nyina akosu sana. Omunche no munye.
Joyce Boche came from Suhum in the eastern region to buy rice for her shop. But after a 2-hour trip to Accra, she had to return because prices had gone up.
But me buy let me say I'm half bag and I'm 4 million plus.
Oh, no amoton.
There be me ton me chaton. Last time
I came to buy rice, but the price is high. Last week, the type I bought was 520 cedis, but it has changed. I don't have a choice. I have to go back. I even went to Agboglushi to buy meat, but it was a similar situation. The prices are up, so I couldn't buy.
I also have one price and can buy a bit in stores na kasama in Kakra because the prices never cost and I'm feel say if you want our baby. I buy any more in Kakra na nyama prices and because unless I make a blush and I make open na me cost on so and I'm meant to be anto and also me sansa mechi.
The mother of 5 says even in Suhum, living standards have soared.
It's our share. Send your corner, the cost of living is too high. And I had them pass a view, young fan, so I could just now the year. Over then, what's ya?
Life is not easy. 2 of my children are on their way to the university. The cost of living is high. If I should take a loan, how will I pay? Even for a working woman like me, it is not easy. So imagine those without work. How will they survive? Government must do something. By Christmas, things will change.
Oh, Christmas, there's a bosumia now.
Martin manages Elike trading with her sister. For 10 years, they've been retailing rice, sugar and oil. Their shop arguably pegs prices at a reasonable level, but they have also been compelled to increase their prices. Martin says some of their customers no longer come to the shop.
Things are difficult these days, even for retailers, because if your customers cannot afford your goods, how would the business grow? Our prices range between 350 and 600 per bag of rice.
It will be 560. It will be 600. I say 600. At present, 600, only 600. But a big more chance.
Madam, behave. Other 12, behave, man.
Or whatever. You know the car for pocket money.
Welcome back on the AM show, and boy, do we have good news for you, education-wise. Well, we're telling you about Family Health Medical School, which received certification to operate all the way in 2014. Now, the first students that enrolled with the institution graduated in December 2020. That's some 6 years, right? So Dr. Roslyn Okoro is with the class of 2020 second-year house officer, pediatrics department at the Lekma Hospital. We also have Dr. Simon Sakite, class of 2021 first-year house officer, and he, that is internal medicine department. He is with the internal medicine department of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Both of them join us for a conversation. Dr. Okoro, Dr. Sakite. We did that one. A very good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
So public universities have been, the sole institutions when it comes to medical training. We've known them, the Ghana Medical, School and all of that. But what made you choose to enroll with this institution, the Family Health Medical School? I'll start with you, Dr. Sakite.
Back in 2016, I saw an ad on UTV where a promotional segment was being made initially when the school was in its early years. And I remember the president was on air. And I mean, considering the fact that it was a new university that I had no idea about, was kind of a gamble, if I'm to be honest.
A gamble, eh?
Yes, but I was really sold on the idea of having small class sizes because throughout my educational experiences, I've realized that the learning environment is better when the student sizes are small.
And more time for you, the student.
Yes, and that's something that I was really sold on, and which was probably one of the prime reasons why I chose Family Health Medical School.
That's interesting. For you, Dr. Okoro, what was the motivation? What got you there?
I think I've always wanted to go to medical school. I've had other degrees in biochemistry and oil and gas. And a friend actually mentioned it to me because his brother was going there and told me that there was a new school that was opening. So if I'm interested, I could give it a try. And I researched on it online, and I realized that, like you mentioned, the very small class size as compared to the public schools, and also the teacher-to-student ratio was much better. And I was like, okay, let me take the risk. If anything at all, I still have 2 degrees I can fall back on if it doesn't go too well, but it was worth it.
But that's an interesting mix though. Biochemistry, oil and gas, and medicine. Why you won't do everything? So.
Yes, I want to collect all the money.
That's on the lighter side. But Dr. Sakite, so tell us about your experience at this institution, the Family Health Medical School. What was it like? Was it worth the gamble?
It was. Eventually, it was worth the gamble. I mean, 6 years is a long time to spend in medical school. I have a lot of memories that I have made. I have learned a lot of valuable lessons along the way, and I made friends who are now 10 colleagues.
Is Dr. Okoro one of them?
Yes. Yes. I really enjoyed my time in school. Medical school is voluminous. There's a lot of things to learn, but it's a very character-building experience because you get to, learn a lot in terms of relating with human beings as persons. Because in the profession, it is not just about the amount of knowledge that you can have, but how exactly you can concentrate that and impact someone's life. And I really found that to be a very valuable life lesson.
And talking about impacting lives, we know about the paucity when you look at the doctor-to-patient ratio across the continent, not just in Ghana and all of that. There are some gaps that we have to fill if we're looking at UN standards and all of that. But for you, what was your experience like? I mean, I'm sure people who are watching you now are eager to find out. If it's not mainstream like this, you went this way.
What was the experience like over what, 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years. It was great. It had its downsides, but in all, I could say it was a wonderful experience. Looking at what we mentioned about the class size, it was very good.
How small are the class sizes?
30 students.
30 students.
Compared to like 150 in the public schools.
So that's like times 5.
Yes, in the other schools. So you realize that your consultants, your lecturers know you by name. You can actually, it has its bad side though. Sometimes you want to hide, but then you have to still, they know your name. If you have issues, if you have any challenges when you're studying, you can actually go to them and speak to them and they'll take you through it. So you feel there's a more, like the name, the family is the small family.
It's close-knit like that.
Yes, very close-knit, and you learn a lot from it. You make friends for life who turn family eventually. So I think the experience has been wonderful.
Well, 6 years on, after biochemistry and oil and gas, you can call yourself a doctor. How does that make you feel?
Well, I'm proud of myself.
Obviously.
I think
you should be.
I should be. Yeah, I deserve it. I've earned it. Yes, it makes me feel good, not just being called a doctor, but knowing that I'm impacting lives positively, saving lives. People walk to you. You get all sorts of messages from your patients about how you've changed their lives, how you've even assigned your patients. I have other students who want to go to medical school that reach out to me and ask me to mentor them, to take them through the training, because it can be very, very draining on your physical, your social, your mental, every aspect of your life.
Right.
So if you don't have the right people to guide you through it, it can be, you can give up easily. So being in that position, being gone through that, and now being able to direct people through that, I think it's a very humbling experience.
Dr. Sakite, for you, I mean, what does all of this mean? 6 years of, we better say, hard labor and coming out now with your dream fulfilled. What does it mean to you?
It feels surreal. I mean, since I graduated, I don't think it's up to a year, it's almost a year. But considering that this has always been like a childhood dream, it really feels like you are living in some...
That's one tick off your bucket list.
Yes.
Like, become a medical doctor.
Yes, a very big tick off my bucket list. And I mean, apart from that, I mean, it's not only about medical school, but the work itself, the fact that every time when I'm going to work in the morning, I know that I have a responsibility, that there are people depending on you. It makes you really feel, you know, it's a heavy burden to carry on your shoulders, but sometimes I feel grateful for the fact that I can actually
admit it makes you feel like Superman. Every time you get to work, you feel like, you know, yeah.
Well, I mean, you have your days. You have your days, exactly, because there are some times when it's I mean, despite everything you do, you can't really make that impact you want.
Yeah.
And that side still has some positive light to it, that it's a very character building experience, that it takes you through some sort of fortitude and changes you. So I mean, I think it's surreal for me.
And that's interesting because I have seen medical doctors, other health professionals, and sometimes you're simply stumped by a situation that comes up. Sometimes even after all your years of study and all your years of practice, you simply can't get around something. Sometimes 3 heads, 4 heads, and you still can't get it.
Yeah.
It's such a convoluted problem. And sometimes too, you've done everything possible. And I think that also makes us realize our humanness.
Yeah.
You've done everything possible, but you see that this one, Charlie. So I guess it's an experience. You live and you learn as you go along. But for both of you, what then would be your final words for parents, guardians, other applicants to the Family Health Medical School after having experienced it and becoming medical doctors? What would be your message to them? I'll start with you, Dr. Okoro.
I think it's no longer a gamble. You've seen the products of the school. We are excelling in every aspect that we've been so far with our house jobs that we are doing. I think every parent, if your child wants to be a medical doctor, can choose Family Health Medical School, and you can guarantee that your child will come out a great doctor. And
wow,
yeah, I don't.
That's some commendation. Okay.
Your child will come out as a great doctor. So I think parents and those who are like me have already been to school so many years and still want to follow their dreams should still take a shot at it. They shouldn't give up if that's what they really want. I think even as we speak, admission is in progress, so they can all start applying now.
Come on board.
Yeah.
For you, Dr. Sakite.
Yeah, so I mean, the work has been done. 2 batches have successfully come out. Like she said, it's no longer a gamble.
So it's what, 2020, 2021?
No, it's 2020. Yes, in 2021. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so it's no longer a gamble. I am a product, she's a product. We have meets everywhere. I would tell any prospective applicant that if you're making an option to go to medical school, you should squarely put Family Health Medical School as one of those options. And to parents and guardians, if your ward decides to choose the school, then you should support them all the way because eventually it is worth it.
All right, so for both of you, I want you to tell me about the precise location and the number to call. I'll start with you.
Okay, so Family Health Medical School is at Teshi. It's opposite the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the number to call?
050-726-1262.
So that's 0505.
Yes, 726-1262.
Okay, or you could also call 055 or 0553 017368. 0553 017368. The website is www.fhu.edu.gh. www.fhu.edu.gh. Well, thank you. Any maybe 15 seconds final words? Any final words? Or you've exhausted everything?
Final words to be to my parents. I know they are watching me.
Okay. So what do you have to say to them?
Hi, mommy. Hi, daddy.
I'm sure they've been very supportive.
I know they have been.
Dr. Saki.
I know my mom is at work, but my dad is watching me. To mom and dad, I love you. Thank you for all the support.
Oh, and to my sister, please. Else I will not. Hi, Yvonne. I know you're watching.
Okay, so you're afraid she'll single you out for something if you fail to mention her. Right? Okay. All right. So we've had joining us from the Family Health Medical School, graduates of 2020, class of 2020, class of 2021, Dr. Roselyn Okoro, who is actually with the class of 2020, second-year house officer, pediatrics department, Lekma Hospital, and Dr. Simon Sakite, class of 2021, first-year house officer, internal medicine department, Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Congratulations once more to you. And of course, if your dream is becoming a medical doctor, you know one of the places to go. We'll take a bit of a breather, and when we return, we'll wrap up the AM show for this Tuesday morning. Do stay. It's always great spending time with you. Thank you for staying with us here on the AM show. But before we go, hello Ghana, happy moment is right here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water from Casapreco Company Limited. All you have to do, buy your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water. Text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780#. Choose option 2, follow the prompts on all networks for free, and you're good to go. You could be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. But apart from that, you could also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and a lot more instantly. So don't waste any time. Grab your bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform. This advert is FDA approved. Oh, do remember, terms and conditions do apply. And on that note, our terms and conditions are that we must get out of here before Joy News Desk at 10 o'clock. So it's been a pleasure. Happy new month to you. And let me say a very happy birthday to Na Adele Doku, my own colleague here with Hits FM. Na Adele Doku, today happens to be your birthday. We wish you the very best as we kickstart this brand new month. Have a good day. Catch you tomorrow.